Yeah. Okay. Is it
Dogs.
Is it dogs?
Is it dogs?
It was Nintendo. And they said that 100. Oh my god! They said it exactly 109 times.
Oh, that's very funny. That's actually very funny.
Sorry.
That is actually
no.
very
107. They said it 107 times, and it has brought it to a tie.
That's honestly very funny that they said it exactly one.
Please let me go to Bromsgrove. Don't shoot me, please. Blobfish?
Yes.
Yes. Terry. Red. God. Thank you, God.
Thank you, God.
Thank you, God.
Thank you, God.
Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Would a fish live in milk? The simple answer is no.
Oh, so you bit your grandchild.
Oh. Hello, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you think that division lies. You are watching twitch.tv/Sean Mall, and I am joined this evening by friend, colleague, and my eulogist. It is Catbox.
Huh?
Are you there, buddy?
Oh, hi, Sean.
I've been watching you sleep for 2 hours.
Yeah, is Elden Ring DLC out yet?
It's not out. We've still got to wait another week and a bit, I'm afraid.
I was going to Green Day it. Yeah, I was just going to Green Day it. Wait me up when Elden Ring's DLC drops. Hello, everyone. How are you doing?
How is everyone doing? Let us know out of 1,000. And it's up to you whether 1,000 means good or 1,000 is bad.
Let us know with a fraction.
Yeah. What do you want the bottom number to be on the fraction?
The denominator.
Oh, that's what it's called, yeah. It's all very fancy. Denominator.
Oh. Oh. Oh, I didn't know you denominated in here. I'd like to thank the Academy for my denomination.
Me and my family, we just said bottom number, but of course we kept all our all our tins in the garden, so people look down on us.
I think I'd like an emoji as the bottom. I like an emoji as the bottom, and then as the top, I would like the last 6 digits of your bank account sort code.
Okay.
Thank you for triggering the welcome bear. I'd love to see new faces in the chat, and I'd love to see this community grow from strength
Reminds me of Hat
to
Game.
strength.
Lovely to meet you, Natalie, new user. Welcome in. I hope everyone's doing very well. Shall we talk about what we're talking about this evening?
Yes.
BGM, of course.
Rekank BGM, Rekank CBM.
Yeah, I think I've made it so that I
ICBM.
can't hear the background music, which is a mistake.
Oh, you want to be monitoring that output?
Oh yeah, and just hearing it keeps me amused.
Someone had better be monitoring that output.
So, myself and Catbox are big fans of Elden Ring, but it is not an easy story to follow. It is not an easy story to understand, and in preparation for the DLC coming up and the completion of this epic yarn, we are going to be trying to ensure we understand it, we're going to be recapping it, and we're going to be explaining it. And this is going to have the added benefit of making accessible the storytelling event of the century to people who don't like to jump around, swing a sword.
Slash hack.
For people who don't like to play video games, or also for the large audience of people who do like to play video games but will not read the item descriptions, who will not figure out the story while playing the game.
Yeah, there's a beautiful sort of collaboration has happened between George R. R. Martin, famed item describer, one of the authors who just loves to describe an item, and From Software, #1 item description using game producing company to create a frankly elusive narrative.
And the story is interesting in that the game world is huge and open, and your ability to understand it is based on you piecing together, I would honestly say, over 1,000 clues. And even within that, huge gaps in questions about incredibly fundamental things lie incredibly open.
So,
and just go on.
I was going to say, so before we progress any further, everything that we say has a spoiler alert on it, with the asterisks that we may not have understood it correctly, so it may not be a spoiler alert.
Yeah. We'll try and draw a link between things that are definite and things that we have interpreted. And I just want to as well, when we say why are we talking about this and why do we care? Me and Catbox have fallen down something of a gravity well recently, and we've made our own little document. Do not worry, we will not be going off of this document to talk about it tonight. We'll be just making our own little thing to illustrate what we're talking about. But just to give you the scope of where our heads are at, we have, for fun, for the last few weeks, been working on this sort of diagram of what's going on in Elden Ring, and all of our theories and all of our understanding and everything that we think's going on in here.
Just give us a quick zoom out, Sean.
I'm just giving them the zoom in first. I think we want to show how expansive this is with a relative zoom in. Here is the genealogies of Elden Ring as we understand them. Here is the general timeline of what we think has possibly happened in what order. This is dedicated to specific questions that we have questions about. This is a theory that I think has been roundly debunked. Talking about alchemy and esotericism. How that relates. Yeah, chirality and the Tao. the rod of Asclepios. What else have we
How about
got
this
here?
Bethesda
Study
stuff?
of the Golden Order. This one's quite long. Catbox has made
Yeah,
this. Fuck the Golden Order. All my homies hate the Golden Order.
I went mad on this one. This one's my particular.
Yeah. Unalloyed gold. This one's honestly some very, very good research. I did a lot of just picking a bubble and then just putting a theory in it. Often well cited. This one's not so well cited. Over here, I think this was quite good.
This is a good one. This is a good section.
This was a good evening.
as a fellow Erd Tree scholar, some of your work, Sean, is really.
Yeah, it really was a meeting of the minds here on this Miro. And if just for the full zoom out, here's everything that went into this, and I have to say it's still a work in progress.
I mean, I've stopped typing Discord messages to you. I'm just leaving them like environmental storytelling voice notes to you, Sean, that you've not yet responded. I've just sent minutes-long messages of me rambling, more for my own benefit, of course. But you know, there's a non-zero possibility that Sean just turns the corner and sees me lying prone somewhere with a tape cassette with my last theory on it. And he's just going to have to environmental storytelling it all out.
Oh, we have a bet.
Thank you so much for triggering the welcome bear.
I feel like
I love to see new faces in the chat, and I love seeing this community go from strength to strength.
We have another bear after this.
All right, there's another bet. Well, if there's another bet. If there's another bet, you've got to be another bet.
Thank you so much for triggering the welcome bear. I love seeing new faces in
Where's the bet?
and I love seeing this community grow from strength to strength.
No bet.
So
I was gonna say as well, Sean, that we were sort of discussing like, oh, we're doing. This is as sincere as it gets.
yeah,
This is what we do in our spare time.
this is our sincerest form of fun recently. Is really digging into, and honestly, I think there is a genuinely fascinating story in Elden Ring that is really strange, incredibly esoteric,
And delightful.
One of
It's-
the most abstract stories you will ever encounter in what is an action game.
It's genuine. There's two games, I think. There's the one where you stab things, and that's great. You know, I love having the big sword, and I love going chop chop. But there's a game where you get to play as a historian of a world that doesn't exist, as well as the curator of a narrative that hasn't fully been. And I think they're still playing their cards quite wide. I don't think they've decided everything that's quite happened until maybe the DLC gets locked in. So they've left some threads that they're yet to really weave in, and we're just having fun.
Do you think the devs know what the story is about? 1,000,000%. Yes. I think there are vast planning documents. The degree to the which elements of the game that the players can't even really get a chance to see are unearthed constantly by data miners and so on means that everyone was on exactly the same page as to what's supposed to be going on. There is absolutely elements of like asset reuse and stuff that exists in the game that doesn't key into the story. But I think that's quite impressive when you say that the elements there are just stuff that isn't particularly story relevant. But beyond that,
But equally as well, like they will use some of these assets which may not be like specific to the world, but are meant to evoke a place in our world that then informs what you will know. So there's an element of collage here that you can sort of unpick, particularly in like styles of architecture and the layering of them. I feel like someone at FromSoft had a lovely holiday in Rome at some point, and they just loved all the different ages of buildings. Centipedes? What are centipedes?
Mm-hmm.
Scorpions? Where's the scorpions come from?
and also
And who are the shrimpies?
I think something that's not very usual is that they got George R.R. Martin to do all the world building, send it off as a complete thing, and then they built the game on top of the world that he had sketched out. And then there was no back and forth. he just sent it off and then never really heard back. I think that he said on an interview they showed him some art that they made of it. But I think what happened is, I don't know if this is confirmed or just theorized, but he just made the world, and they like advanced the world a few hundred years and figured out what has happened since and set the game then.
Just noticing as well, Sean, I can see a couple of messages coming through which are questions, and you have implemented a question system.
That's true.
That's not too.
I just want to say to Red, I think Lost Data Plan got sussed and then bent the story. I don't know the full lore of what happened with the TV show Lost, but I thought there was a gigantic writer's strike in the middle of it. They sacked all the writers, and the new writers weren't sent on the documents that the old writers had.
Yes.
So there
no
was
one wrote handover notes.
Well, no one wanted to, right? It was a strike. Wouldn't it be strike breaking to write handover notes in the middle of a writer's strike? That would be scabbing.
No, because you might not use them, right? Like, you couldn't write them, but if they were handover notes made, like, did they fire them mid-strike? Did they ever come back to work?
I don't know about what happened during. But I remember there was a writer's strike that really... I know there was a massive change in talent, and I know there was a writer's strike, and I can't remember how those elements all fit together.
Do you know what? I think there's probably a really good video just charting the effect of the writer's strike on, like, a bunch of narratives. Oh yeah, they just dropped the ball. They just dropped the ball, sorry. Do you remember Heroes when it was good? No more.
Like Catbox says, there is a new there's a new system, a new feature, and it's very simple. I've created a question buffer. Sometimes people want to ask questions and I don't see it at the right time, and now questions can go into a buffer, and then questions can be pulled from the buffer when it's time to answer questions. So if people type !question and then write a question, it will go into a buffer and it will be pulled from it again when I'm ready to look at all the questions. Then a Shawmall's still good. I still rate Shawmall. Still would put him up on a pedestal. Feels dangerous? I don't think so. I've got a lot of trust for this community. I don't think people are going to monkey around. No monkeying tonight.
They can have a little. They can ape out. No monkeying about, but you can ape out.
Okay.
I think that's
so
a happy
should we start the beginner's guide?
Yes.
Okay, so we've made this new thing.
Hi, Oracle.
Hello, Oracle. Oblique Incomplete, the story of Elden Ring for beginners and well-wishers, aka Who Shot Queen Marika, aka Who Burnt Down the Erd Tree, aka Why Was Godwyn Assassinated, aka Who Is This Guy, aka Why Was the Elden Ring Shattered, aka Who Is Melina. I think that covers probably half of the main questions.
Yeah, those are a lot of the big ones, and I think it's interesting that a lot of those questions are someone's done something naughty to this world, and we're not quite sure who, why, where, or even what, but we're aware that something's gone wrong.
Martine's asked a good question that's going to get us started. So, pull question. Martine asked. I should probably say asks with an S, shouldn't it? Asks would feel better. What's the first thing that happens in Elden Ring?
Ooh.
We should go as the story is told to the player.
Yes. So the first thing that happens is you get this gorgeous cutscene, which I guess we could play as well. Like, it's a classic cutscene. That introduces a series of characters and says that the grace of gold is returning to them, I think is the quote. And something is returning to these people, and these people are returning to a place called the Lands Between. And that's the first thing that may or may not happen.
So perhaps the best thing to start off with, because that cutscene really revolves around the shattering of the Elden Ring. Lots of other things are a catalyst for it, but this is the catalyst for the story. The Elden Ring has been shattered.
And this directly leads into the things, this cutscene. So this is kind of pre-cutscene. We don't see the shattering. Or I guess we do in the cutscene. There she is. We stand a queen who shatters the Elden Ring.
Yeah. So, possibly it's good to go, what is the Elden Ring? Because anyone who's like acquainted with general fantasy is not going to be picturing what the Elden Ring really is.
Yes, yeah.
Especially because a lot of Lord of the Rings talk
it's...
the other day.
Yeah. In some senses, it's a Maltese Falcon for the story. In other senses, it is a sort of description of the world.
Yeah, what's a good way of describing it? The Elden Ring is the set of metaphysical principles that around which the world is ordered. You think that's fair?
Yeah, that's good. Also, brackets, also it's real and it's here. It's something you can touch and see.
Yeah. It's real and it's here. It's a physical thing you can literally smash with a hammer. That's
there's
what the
no
Elden
figurative.
Ring is.
When you break the law, you've literally broken it.
Yeah. All right, we got some questions coming in, so let's pull them out. Some are silly, some are serious. Let's try. Okay. Hello, Beth. We're trying to explain the story of Elden Ring tonight, so buckle your brain in.
I think we're trying to understand it first, and then we'll explain this. We'll let you know when we fully understand it.
Is the Dung Eater really so loathsome? Yeah. I'm going to go with yeah on that one. How do you feel, Catbox?
Yep. Yeah. And he's the dung eat. I don't think you ever see him eat dung. Like, that's not even. It's somehow it's his name, and it's not even the thing that he does.
He does do it though, doesn't he? Doesn't he eat dung?
I've never seen him eat dung.
People talk about him eating dung, don't they? They say he eats dung.
Well, yeah, because he's the dung eater. You'd assume he's the. It could just be a coincidence. His first name's Doug, second name's Eater.
Do you know what?
I've never seen him eat dung.
Okay, rather than get completely.
I've never seen. You've seen him eat dung? Show me the dung. Oh, okay, you can't because maybe he ate it, but
yeah. The thing about the dung eater, right, is even if he does eat dung,
it's the least bad thing about him. Yeah.
It's if he stopped doing all the other stuff but he kept eating dung, I wouldn't say he's loathsome. I would say he's just the unusual dung eater, the strange guy,
off-putting dung eater.
Now, what the dung eater does, amongst other things, the dung eater separates people from the cycle of rebirth,
which is a thing you can do.
Yeah.
Again, there's, I guess, like a lot of the
rot bed curse.
A lot of the conceit of this game is that things that are previously metaphysical and sort of conceptual in our understanding of reality are literally there, as real as, you know, as real as the hand in front of your face.
Yeah, so these things actually go kind of hand in hand, right? So the Elden Ring was shattered. Well, what was that actually meant? Well, specifically,
bits of it flew off,
and the bit that flew off
and
the
landed
most
in everyone's pockets
is that Marika removed death from the world.
She did that. That wasn't the shattering. She did that pre-shattering. That's her making the Elden Ring.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. That wasn't happening in the shattering. That was pre that.
It's literally a thing that you can just say, I don't like death. I'm gonna take it out. I'm gonna take the bit that governs death out, and I'm gonna put it somewhere else. And now no one dies. And I guess we've all got to go return to the Erd Tree, and the Erd Tree gives. We come back up again. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Marika previously removed death from the Elden Ring. Means people can't die.
Patched it out.
Yeah, it literally patched it out because she is basically the god. Queen Marika Maybe it's Who's Queen Marika? Queen Marika.
Queen Marika is
God. Basically God, but not for forever. She's like the current God. You know, she's
it's almost a demiurge interpretation where, because without jumping ahead too far, you are tasked with making your way to the Erd Tree and becoming Elden Lord and gaining some sort of authorship over the rules of the world. And so it kind of implies that the people that are doing that are not themselves, the great other will, powerful, God being. Marika has wants, Marika has an agenda, but because she wields the power of the Elden Ring, she's effectively a god.
Yeah. But it's implied that there's a greater force at work, right? It's like if Marika is the prime minister, this would be the deep state, right?
Yeah, this is the queen, but
Marika
we can't say that because
is
Marika's a queen.
Subordinate to the greater will, who speak to normal physical beings via fingers, and this creature here is the two fingers, and the two fingers is they're like antennae that listen to the greater will, which is a kind of extraterrestrial cosmic force.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Maybe.
And only because Marika is like chosen by the two fingers. So the two fingers are they're like pulling the strings from behind. Hello, bird.
Back to the top. Back to the top for birds. Back to the top.
Okay.
There's the queen. What was she doing on the roof? She was smashing the doors of reality. The doors of... And then there was a guy and he ate a load of dung. And that's not even the worst thing he did.
He didn't even eat the dung. Honestly, we're not sure if he ate the dung.
We're not even sure if he ate any dung.
We don't
just
know
a thing people say
if
about
he eats dung, actually.
It could be like...
We're not actually sure on that. Put that in brackets.
You know when you've got like a group of mates and everyone's like, oh, here's Big John, and then Big John is just like a little guy. It could be like that. He could hate eating dung, and people are just saying that to rile him up. The last thing he does is eat dung, but... Oh, we all hate Dung Eater.
Oh, we all hate Dung. Dung Eater's an asshole. I just think we're getting too hung up on the dung.
Yeah.
All right. Let's. Should we pull another question?
Yep.
By the way, Bird, we have a new feature, which is the question buffer. ! Question followed by a question. Oh, you've already worked it out. You've already worked it out. All right. Pull a question. What's next?
Hate dung in college? Don't believe you. I think you just like, weh. I'll tell him anything.
Am I in the phase buffer now? Will O'Brien get me onto that pad? Now, I don't think in the Star Trek lore you can download someone from the phase buffer onto a pad. That would be a bit overpowered.
I thought we were talking about that guy wwho works at LBC Radio.
Oh, what, James O'Brien?
Yeah.
Well, James O'Brien get me onto the radio.
Does James O'Brien have a holopad?
I think I'd have heard about it.
Hello,
Made in the Sweatshop.
Made in the Sweatshop.
Okay, what's next? Oracle of Truth asked, is Melina Marika? No. Pretty sure no.
No.
Who is Melina? We'll cover this later. We don't know. Should we just skip to the end on that question? Literally no one knows.
No idea, yeah.
There are lots of competing theories.
She's our companion for a bit.
Yeah,
she hangs
companion.
around.
The player's companion.
Usually at bonfires.
But we can't answer that. But I would never... No one believes that Melina is Marika. In the theory space... doing reading with my 5-year-old at bedtime to learn the ancient Egyptians drank dung juice to rid them of evil spirits. The dung drinker.
Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh.
That's pretty good.
Ooh.
She's a maiden,
I guess we
right?
never thought
no,
that maybe
not.
he's...
Explicitly, Melena's not a maiden. She just says she can act as a maiden.
Yeah, she says quite explicitly, "I'm no maiden. Sorry, guys."
Yeah, she says, "I'm no maiden." However, I think she's burnable. She's flammable.
I guess just jumping off what Sudden Beth said, we've never thought about that. Maybe he's eaten dung to try and cure himself. Like we're assuming that eating dung's a bad.
He
We're eating dung
specifically
'cause
wears
it's
the
bad.
omen. He wears the horns of the omen.
You find in the game, you find gold-tinged excrement, which presumably is the remains of people that bears have eaten, who have the grace of gold in them, and it's therefore like an excretion of god power, right? Divinity that's been digested and spat out. So maybe that's why he's eating dung. This is our first new theory of the night. Dung's good, actually.
Okay, first new theory, dung is good. Theory, dung is good.
This could be the sudden death dung is good proposition.
Yeah.
Sorry, sudden. No, actually, no. You shouldn't be associated with that. You probably
No,
don't want that.
I think this is good. This is good lore about ancient Egypt. All right, what's next in the buffer? Fred Santa asked, "What's going on with the butterflies?" Oh, this is too deep. This is too deep to go now. But people believe there are different butterflies which align with some of the prime movers in the.
There is a correlation between number one,
egg,
the gods, the demigods of the world, and the butterflies that flap around. And potentially the butterflies flap around places where they've been.
Egg.
And potentially the butterflies represent them. But it's also possible that the butterflies have their own little life cycle. Because one of them is in the process of being born, and then another one is in the process of being destroyed, and another one is in the process of rotting away.
Yeah,
so they could also represent God knows what.
Aeonian butterfly.
Aeonian is Greek from Ionos, maybe, but it's where we get the word eon. So Eonic, so it's to do with time.
There's the smouldering butterfly, and then there's the nascent butterfly. This is too much of a deep cut. We will return to the butterflies. Thank you for asking.
Egg.
But maybe we should deal with the Golden Dynasty, like to set up some of the pillars.
Oh.
Egg.
And I think these are some fun guys to get to know. Maybe I'll copy this wholesale out of our.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 children.
Egg. Yeah. Let's get the children.
No, we should start at the start of the Golden Dynasty, right? With
Godfrey, right?
Godfrey and Marika.
Yeah.
Once upon a time.
Okay, so here's Queen Marika. We've talked about Queen Marika. And
We
Queen
love Queen
Marika,
Marika.
when she ascends to godhood, so we'll grab a pic.
What?
This is her in her Sunday best. Queen Marika had an Elden Lord called Godfrey, who was a great warrior. He is constantly accompanied by the giant lion Sarosh, which is holding him back from his eternal bloodlust.
Yeah, do you see that giant beast on his shoulder? That beast is his better angel, and it's telling him, just chill out, man.
If that beast doesn't stop holding him back, he will go absolutely ballistic.
Which of the two do you think is madder? Because I'm telling you, it's the guy who isn't a lion. Ooh. But actually, there are 2 incidents of twins in the Golden Dynasty. Is it 2? Yeah. So technically it's only 6, and then it's over a couple of relationships. So we can assume started young, a couple of sets of twins. It's not as impressive a sort of lifestyle as you think it is.
So
also, she's God.
Now,
Well,
let's go
interesting
over
you
the
don't hear about-
children initially. There's
I mean,
Godwyn.
if you're God, oh yeah, rest in peace. F's in the chat for Godwyn the Golden. First of the demigods to die on the night of the Black Knives.
Yes, so what happens with Godwyn is we don't know much about him because he's dead before the story of the game starts. F's in the chat for Godwyn. Now, as we've said
Do you
earlier,
speak Prince?
the Elden Ring is a real... it's a physical thing that determines the metaphysical laws by which the universe is ordered. And Marika has already removed the Rune of Death. So when
She didn't like
Godwyn
it. She didn't
is
like it.
assassinated, which shouldn't really be possible,
They
because
have to
death isn't
glitch.
possible,
Yeah.
he becomes he enters a strange state where his body is rotting and dead, but he's not dead. So in some sense, some
Well,
ineffable
isn't
part
it the
of his
opposite?
spirit.
He's dead, but his body's still going on. No, you're right. You're right. Sorry, totally wrong. I take it back.
Yeah, his body,
I got my-
his.
This is not a
No,
healthy
maybe
man.
Maybe I'm wrong. His soul
He stops
is dead.
moving.
Whatever ineffable thing is part of him
Yes.
stops moving,
Yeah,
but
he's
his
gone.
body is still alive. Because people can't completely and fully die. Death, as a totalizing concept, simply doesn't fit in the slot, right? So his
And so
his
it doesn't.
spirit
The world
is gone.
The world
He's
doesn't
been
know what
snuffed
to
out.
do with him.
Yeah. He's kind of becomes an error, essentially. He's almost like he's like a computer virus in the world. Because his body is alive and it sort of never stops growing.
And they stupidly the world is underpinned by a series of massive world trees called Erd trees.
Oh yeah, how have we not covered the Erd tree?
And the tradition is that very, very important or well-beloved people are buried at the foot of the Erd tree. The Erd tree plays some sort of role in this cyclical nature of life and death that isn't particularly clear. And it may have been a sort of Catholic-style implant on top of an existing funereal practice, because the catacombs that Erd tree roots go through are seemingly older than the Erd tree and not built to accommodate them. So it's not quite clear how the Erd tree fits into it. Nevertheless, these trees are everywhere, the roots go everywhere, and they planted the glitch body at the bottom of the big one.
Yeah.
So Godwyn is everywhere. He's on the back of some crabs. He's popping up his little face. He's got little roots all over the place. And he's slowly corrupting the world through no fault of his own. Like, by all
Yeah,
accounts, he was a
nothing
lovely lad.
malicious.
But he's just mucking around. He's just bleh.
So at one point in the game, you can find this weird, like, emanation of him coming out of the floor.
And that's not his original face. That's a whole new face he's grown halfway
Yeah.
across that map. That's just what's he doing in another face?
There's something I don't understand, which I've been reliably informed is something to do with some element of Japanese mythology, but he's become fish-like.
Hi, Halloumi.
If you can see here, this is some sort of concept art, but he's got
Yeah,
a
a bit
fish's
fishy.
tail now. And he also looks like
He's
a bit of
turned
a
into a fish.
squid. Catbox brought up the fact that people are buried at the foot of the Erd tree. I can't get a good image of that so quickly, but in this other minor Erd tree, you can see that there are these pots laying around.
Pot
People
boys.
who are very well considered, people who are very well regarded, their bodies are all stuffed into pots, and those pots are left near the roots.
Well, sometimes the pots
trees
do
as
the stuffing.
fertilizer.
They discovered after a while that the pots, just putting them in the pots isn't enough. So they enchanted some of the pots to come to life and seek out strong warriors to defeat, who they'll then stuff inside of their pot bodies until they become full of warrior bits, and then they head off to the nearest minor Erd tree and presumably do a big jump and smash themselves to fertilize the Erd tree so it grows big and strong like that big golden one,
Hey,
which
now
is
here's
real.
a guy with no worries.
Lamp
I hit
trees.
some absolutely mad error, so I'm going to restart Miro.
Lamp trees. Oh, we love the the pot boys. We love the pot boys. The trees may not be evil. It's not clear what authorship the trees have in this. The trees may just be a life form that is being cultivated by people for some sort of cosmic order purpose.
Yeah, the trees have no intent. They are trees.
Martine has just said lamp tree.
Lamp tree. We like lamp. Martine, let us just say we like you saying lamp tree quite a lot. So here's where we're at. People.
Oh, Dolly's got a little Alexander. Look.
Oh, that's very nice. Don't the pots contain tarnished flesh? Yes, but the thing to understand is that what the tarnish refers to is more or less just people.
Specifically, the veterans of the First Great War with the Giants and the Erd Tree Unification War. They were part of Godfrey's army. They fought everyone. They beat everyone. And then when they were done, Marika said, "Okay, I'm now taking away the grace of gold from you." I don't know what that means. And you got to leave. And she banished a lot of them. And everyone went off to other lands, lived out the rest of their lives, and died. And then right when the story begins, this golden light starts popping up, and all of these dead warriors who've been meticulously taken care of, actually, which is quite lucky, because otherwise, they'd all be popping out of graves, are all coming back to life and going, well, there's a big golden light pointing in that direction. I guess I better head over there. See what Marika wants.
So
New phone, who did?
Previously, the Tarnished were like the warriors of the royal family. And that's, I guess, you as your player character. Then, once all the wars were won, and there was no more need for bloodshed, really, Marika declared a time of prosperity. Everyone lives happily, but all the soldiers have to fuck off. But now that she's been in prison for being very naughty, aka smashing the Elden Ring, that has bothered the Greater Will that's really in charge. And they've brought all these warriors back and are just certainly pointing them to be like, why don't you go to the tree? Because also, got to mention, Marika is imprisoned at the base of the Erd tree. She's in there. She's in the tree. Okay, so that's Godwin. We'll cover the royal family, and then we'll cover a lot of questions. So
he was friends with dragons. Side note: he was friends with dragons. Dragons loved him.
He was. Then we've got Morgoth. I mean, we'll cover Morgoth and Mohg in like the same breath because they are twins.
So we've touched on being cursed out of the cycle of rebirth earlier in the Dung Eater. The Dung Eater sort of forces people into this existence, but it can also happen to you just naturally. You can just be born outside of the circle of rebirth, and that makes you what's called an omen. Your body displays some telltale signs. They are not which are part of you being an omen. So they can be like altered and changed, but they include these massive horns that sprout all over you, and they include bestial aspects such as a long tail, fur, long canine teeth. Essentially, you're returning to a more bestial form of existence. Only you're not really. You're just a normal person with this stuff on you. But nevertheless, as you can sort of see from this sort of brown milieu that this omen is standing in, the omens didn't get to live in a nice place. the omens got sent to the sewers, and they lived like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles under the capital sewers. And if you were lucky, if you were really lucky, you could sneak out maybe when the entire world ends, but that's it.
Omens were shunned into the sewers of the capital. And you've also got in-game this depiction of like a baby that's got the omen disease.
And I love it's called an omen bairn.
Yeah.
It's called a bairn. Have you got the bairn? Your little omen bairn.
So sometimes randomly people will be born as omens. They're often really big. They grow real big, and they're covered in these horns, just unchecked growths. And a lot of them would be. It says in game like parents not wanting to have an omen child might try to cut the horns, but of course this would often kill the child because horns are connected to your circulatory system. They'll cause bleeding if you cut them off.
Yeah, they should wait for them to shed as part of the natural lifestyle cycle of an omen.
So what?
And Morgoth and Moog are royal omens.
Yeah.
So after Godwyn, we're assuming Godwyn was the first, but after Godwyn, they had a couple more kids, and these guys have the big curse. So they got a slightly nicer dungeon than everyone else.
Margit stays loyal. They're both shunned, right? They both have to stay out of the eye.
Margit is a pseudonym for Morgoth. Confusingly, characters in this game do use pseudonyms at different points.
Constantly.
So they'll be like, oh, this is my name, and then later on they go, sorry, this thing which is incredibly similar is actually my name. And it's probably a Japanese thing, right, where they just change how you pronounce one of the kanji, maybe. They're like, oh, the kanji, I said it was like this kanji, but it's actually one of these ones.
And for now, what we'll say about Moog is that while Margit stays loyal to the royal family and the capital city and the Golden Order, the Greater Will, all of that, he's drank the Kool-Aid.
He's quite curmudgeonly, but he's big, he's conservative, votes blue, doesn't like tarnished in the capital.
Yeah. He would go to his local Conservatives club and he would fight off people out of the village with a big stick. Whereas Moog, in the sewers, he what do they call like the old gods in this? What do they call like
the outer gods?
Yeah, he
finds
forms
one.
a community
He makes
with the
contact
Formless
with one.
Mother.
Yeah,
which I'll put in all capitals. So the Formless Mother, you only really hear about her in relation to the fact that
Moog.
she is in some way like empowering, or Moog is the Formless Mother's chosen. The Formless Mother is a blood god, and her main thing is she doesn't have any extension in space. She doesn't physically exist in any specific place. She's anywhere or nowhere.
And just in case you think one blood god is enough, you're wrong. There's another one called the Blood Star. We're not going to get to that today, but there is potentially a second blood-themed outer god just poking around. Just the outer gods are just sort of like causing a little bit of shenanigans as the story goes on, and occasionally you can be like, hang on a minute, is this an eldritch horror? Have I been talking to an eldritch horror all along?
When you do end up fighting Moog, he uses a lot of blood, but that's useful because he can just stab the Formless Mother by just waving a blade literally anywhere, because she's anywhere you might guess that she is. That's where she is. In the cupboard,
it's not his blood.
Oh, thank you, Oracle of Truth.
Thanks, Oracle.
Let's see if these double up. King of Times help me figure out how to stop these doubling up, because we both had the same problem. Will this double?
Genius.
They don't double up. Thank you, Oracle.
Shout outs to KOT.
Shout out to KOT. Thank you so much. To be honest, I actually had the solution, but I also had another bit of my code deleting all variables. So the solution was there, but not functioning.
That's fine.
Okay.
Why would you...
So that is the first bit of the golden lineage. Should we take a couple of questions and then do...
Yeah, I was going to say, can we do a question? Because we're going to be on kids for a long time. There's a lot going on with these kids.
There's a few more kids to come, and that's how long it took us to do 3. So, pull a question. Okay, Martin asked, who's wearing the... Well, it was half in response to this that I was clarifying.
Okay.
The Elden Ring isn't a ring.
However, as part of the ritual to become Elden Lord with your chosen Empyrean consort, we'll get onto what an Empyrean is later. Yeah. We'll get into that later. You do put a ring on their finger. It's similar to being married to them, but it's not super clear exactly what you're getting married to.
And we should say this marriage thing, it's not... I wouldn't call it like a marriage of equals, because it's still very much that Marika is the god, and this guy is the consort to the god. So this is not a marriage of equals. Marika is the divine. And
Marika's the breadwinner.
You're like
and then
the guard
Godfrey's like, I would like to change the color of the curtains, please. And Marika's like, oh, okay, fine.
Yeah, sucking a teeth.
But it's Marika who's actually making these purchasing decisions.
Yeah.
But instead of curtains, it's reality.
Yeah, let's just say Godfrey doesn't get his own bank account.
No. He's got his own pet. He keeps the cat. You know, there was a discussion about the cat. He keeps the cat. But it has to stay on his shoulder at all times.
Birdass, does the lion watch? Let me put it this way. If the lion wasn't holding on to him, he wouldn't be able to hold back his bloodlust.
Yeah.
So the lion's definitely present. But I don't know if the lion ever opens his eyes, probably out of courtesy.
But they do say that the lion is like counseling him as well, which I quite like. So he's not just like kind of holding him back. He's also just sort of saying, I wouldn't do this if I was you.
Yeah. Ooh. Do we really need a king-size Snickers? All right. What's next? I think the buffer's quite full.
There is a whole area in this game which is a castle that's filled with a guy who loves Godfrey, and it's filled with great big pictures of Godfrey and all of Godfrey's favorite stuff, and he's just like, yes, we love Godfrey. Literally a Godfrey stan. Oh dear.
We have a question about Rani, and it sort of does dovetail in nicely. One, because everyone loves Rani. It's also next on our chart, so we could cover Rani.
This is our tentative order of Born as well.
Ooh, thank you for the follow, Okamenoncho. We're doing Rani. Let's do Rani. So what we need to understand is that this guy gets axed.
Mm-hmm.
He goes away, and then Marika starts a new
relationship, new dad. This is your dad now.
Yeah, with this guy. Now, they have a very interesting relationship, and maybe we'll cover that a bit later.
Well, top right's pretty good. It's just his face. It's difficult because he does get a bit beat up at one point, so like it's difficult finding a clean picture of his noggin.
Yeah, let's maybe him a bit nudie. This nudie fan art could be nice.
This is very like pulp lit.
Yeah, Milson Boone.
Yes, that's what I was going for. The formless Milson Boone.
Okay.
Grant me a boon, Lord. A Milson Boone, I mean. It's probably worth saying that Rani is not the person in blue down there.
Well, hang on. So we got
Right.
Radigan now, and then we'll cover the first child.
All right.
Do we want to cover what's interesting about her relationship with Radigan?
No. We'll get into that later.
Okay.
That's huge.
That is huge,
And then
actually, yeah.
And the implications of that undercut almost everything.
That's very fair. Okay.
First off, this isn't Rani. This is Renna. Renna is pretending to be someone called Rani. She's doing this by living in a puppet.
Is Renna the real one and Rani... Isn't it the other way around? Rennie is the fake name and Rani is the real name.
Renna is her original name. It's Renna, Radagon, and
Okay.
Renna, Radagon, Radan, Rickard. Rani doesn't sound very close to any of them, and there is an item I think that says that Rani was the name of the witch. So she takes on the name of the witch. She gets a puppet built that looks like the witch who secretly taught her a bunch of snow magic, and she's hiding away. I do think Oracle, her original name is Renna because one of the towers, in fact, the tower that you then gain access to later on in the storyline is called Renna's Rise. So there's Renna's Rise, Rani's Rise, and Seleuvis's Rise, and the towers are named after the people who live in them. So Rani lives in the tower, so it's called Rani's Rise. Seleuvis lives in that tower, so it's called. Even though it's the three sisters, we don't even have time to get into who the three sisters are because we've got no idea. But at some point there were three carrying sisters. But I think I think because no one lives inside of Renna's Rise, someone lives inside of Rani's Rise, but they're both filled with Rani's stuff, that Renna was her original name.
So the interesting thing, let me give you the answer. Oh, hello, Okamenoncho. Welcome. If you have any questions for us, we're absolutely not experts, but we're just trying to cover things from the bottom.
I have a question, Okamenoncho. What is the best way to... Yes! You're a real person. Okamenoncho wants to sell us some stream views.
Real viewers, fire works. This is like fruit flies eat a banana kind of stuff.
Eat, shoot, and
goodbye.
leave. No, Okamenoncho!
So the thing to know about Rani is that she's like the polar opposite of Godwyn. Godwyn, his spirit died, but his body lives on. Whereas Rani...
Can you see that little bit of ghost? Can you see a little bit of ghost? Up the top there. Can you just go... Give me a little bit of ghost. See a little bit of ghost? That's Rani.
So Rani destroyed her body. And her spirit pilots this puppet. And like Catbox says, you can see the puppet and you can see the soul sort of piloting it around. Now...
And there's no indication that she does actually need to be in the puppet. Like at points she just sort of disappears. And is presumably just floating around as a soul.
And the other thing is, you know how Godwyn got assassinated? Rani did that. She did that. She was in charge of that.
And she also assassinated herself.
And she assassinated herself. She assassinated two people. Let's draw another arrow.
She assassinated one person. She 50% assassinated herself, and she 50% assassinated Godwyn.
That's true. Yeah.
And that was the workaround that she found to reintroduce death to the world.
Yeah. Outside of that, really,
you can kill things in Elden Ring. You can kill things, but they will come back. They will respawn when you rest at grace. The things that you've killed will be back. I think cosmically, the things that you killed will return in some form, like will be reborn. So nothing finishes. But Godwyn's soul is gone. Rani's body is gone. They are not coming back. Nothing is bringing them back. It's known as destined death. Is that a bit more unclear? There's two moons, by the way. There's two moons.
Yeah, so the last thing
there's more than one moon.
And probably the thing that sort of just encapsulates Rani's desire is that she wants to do a coup, essentially. And her coup is that Marika is subordinate. I'm going to find a picture that represents the Greater Will. Elden Ring, the Greater Will.
Maybe the big fish.
Maybe I could just use this.
Big fish boy.
What fish? I mean the Elden Beast.
He swim. Yeah.
He's a big fish. The Elden Beast is the. Yeah. Do you know what? You're right. I'll use the Elden Beast.
Yeah. They spent a lot of time and effort making an Elden Beast just for us. I love the Elden Beast. You know the big thing at the end of Princess Mononoke, chat, that turns up and starts glooping everywhere. Everyone's like, oh no! Oh no, nature is far more callous than we thought. It's the Elden Beast. Hey, Albie.
Hi, Al.
Oh, we Elden.
We're just explaining
Elden.
the superstructure of the Elden Ring. Just to let you know, Albrock, me and Catbox have made our own Miro that we were briefly showing off at the beginning, but we'll show it off again now. This is what we've been just doing amongst ourselves for fun for the last few months, of just putting absolutely everything together in Elden Ring. And we're just sharing a little glimpse of that for anyone who's actually curious about the story.
Yeah, you do have to subscribe to our Patreon ring thinking.
If anyone wants to see
Dead
this
Ringers.
Miro, you'll have to just become very close friends with us and just talk to us about Elden Ring regularly, and then we'll probably just invite you in as a natural extension of the conversations we're having.
And I do want to say that if you think that sounds nice, you're wrong.
No, it is nice.
We will talk. We will talk and talk. Oh no, Albert can get enough Elden Ring content.
Okay,
Well, you let us know. Albert, you let us know when you've had enough, and we'll just sit silently for as long as seems reasonable until you want some more.
Okay, so like we say, Marika is subordinate to this thing called the Greater Will, and all you need to know about the Greater Will is that it comes from somewhere out in space. In this, we still got our kind of Lovecraftian big deities, but they're also, crucially, aliens as well. Not in the kind of like take us to your leader kind of way. They are vast and as powerful and incomprehensible, but they're also just extraterrestrial in nature. It's like they fell onto the planet just randomly.
They are elephants tap dancing on ants.
Yeah.
But we can't even perceive, that's how big their elephant foot is.
And so different characters, sometimes, I don't know, are under the influence of different ones of these outer gods. But specifically,
some people
what
get
Rani
straight
wants,
up puppeted. Some people straight up get puppeted, like Yura. When we get into Three Finger stuff.
What Rani wants is to sever, not just coup Marika, but to coup the Greater Will, and instead install a new hierarchy, which is based around this moon. And when we say this moon, we don't mean like the moon. There just is a moon, and
that's her
for whatever
moon.
reason,
That's
she
her
is in
moon.
communication with this moon. Her and the moon have talked. She likes the moon, and she wants the moon to be in charge. And that's
mum,
her.
Rani's mum was in communication with another rune. Not another rune, another moon. And that's a separate moon that was friends with her mum, and then she's friends with a different moon. But what Rani wants as well is she says that she's going to make it a very distant. So basically, the stars and the gods are very, very involved in people's lives in the world of Elden Ring. And what she wants is just a strong, safe boundary. She wants to make sure that they respect people's boundaries, and by moving them distant, perhaps a bit closer to our experience of magic.
So the question Oracle's asked, is Rani good? I think honestly it's a very good question within the story. She does kill a lot of people to achieve it, but at the same time she's doing that to upset a hierarchy that's done a lot of its own damage. So if you like the idea of sort of a moon-based society, I think it's worth a certain amount of bloodshed, then absolutely.
I think if you imagine, I think from Rani's perspective, because the main thing she hates is that you were subordinate to the Greater Will. So I think for her perspective, people aren't really living a life because they're all just kind of dancing to the tune of this unknowing thing that's affecting everything and controlling everything. So I don't think she really thinks of herself as like actually killing them, because they're not really alive, because everyone's living sort of predestined Calvinist lives. But then once she's pushed all that stuff away, then you can have a proper life.
Now, Rani comes off as quite callous because she sort of murders everyone's hot wolf boyfriend, which is this guy called Blythe. Now, Blythe is like...
Guts. Blythe is Guts.
Blythe is Guts from Berserk, but also Blythe is a wolf that has been assigned to be her shadow.
Blythe is a little bit like Heathcliff. He's a little bit like Guts. He's a little bit like Garfield.
And what we kind of learn is that because this guy is sort of maybe like a completely artificial vassal of the Greater Will, he's almost like an inbuilt spy. He's almost like she's bugged. Her tower is bugged.
Yeah.
Because
so
what this guy knows, the Greater Will sort of knows. So he needs to be dispensed. But it's very hard to piece all this together. So you make friends with this guy. He's lovely. He's incredibly he's the most boyfriend material in the game, apart from Alexander.
And he loves Rani. And he loves Rani. He will do anything for Rani.
That's another murder she does. All the arrows are people she's killed.
Well, I think she indirectly causes his... Because he's coming out to kill her at that point.
Yeah, he gets sent...
Spoilers.
Yeah.
But he gets puppeted and he's
a
forced
puppet,
to. And then you find him later on, he's like, that's mad. I would never do that. And he's steaming. He's absolutely hopping about it that he got puppeted by the fingers.
So ultimately, I'm fairly pro Rani. And I'd say Rani...
We fight off his ghosts, and then potentially and then he starts on us. And then you kind of have to decide what you do there.
Okay, next question. We were pretty robust there on Rani.
Yeah.
Finger butthole. Yeah. Could it be dog? You got a response?
Is this a tree?
When does Terry Wogan enter the fray?
I would say Terry Wogan is analogous to Godwyn in that he's all-pervasive, fundamentally unknowable, and profoundly unkillable.
I think Terry Wogan, there is a Terry Wogan in there. They call him Kenneth Height.
No, Kenneth Height isn't Terry Wogan. He's
closest.
Kenneth Height is a blustery man, but like Wogan would be way more chill about it. Wogan, if you bumped into Wogan mid Elden Ring, he'd be like, "Oh, I've caught myself in a little bit of a predicament.
There's
with
another
some
Terry Wogan.
demi-humans who've taken my DJing set."
The other Terry Wogan could be Albus, the Albinoric.
Okay, we're getting there. We're getting somewhere.
Somewhere between the two, right?
Yeah. Now, if you take the Haligtree medallion, you take it all the way to the Haligtree.
There's a little bit of Alexander as well, I think, in the Wogan.
I would say Alexander's closer. I'd say Alexander's
pretty
way
close.
If
Terry Wogan's in
Raconteur
there,
was
his
equivalent
guts
to
are
being
all
a
mushed
warrior.
up. His cat lungs are all in the middle there.
Yeah.
Terry Wogan's has been chosen as one of the champions and has been interred inside one of these pots.
Terry Wogan's pot adventure. When I signed up for this, I thought it would be weed.
Isn't Gideon more Wogan-y? No. Gideon's all-knowing. Terry Wogan's got brain damage.
Gideon's David Brent. And also, Gideon isn't all-knowing because he has to actively learn things. He says he's the all-knowing, and then the entire time in the game, he's like, by the way, if you've got any information about this...
Yeah. Can you answer the following questions? I've got a lot of concerns.
At a certain point, all of the books that he's reading are set on fire. And you bump into him and he's like, I'm memorizing as much stuff out of this book as I can before we go. So like, how all-knowing can he be?
Oh, it's you.
Oh, it's me. We have activated
the welcome bear. Even now it is being summoned from the depths of the earth to welcome new faces in the chat and see this community grow from strength to strength.
It's me.
That was you. Next question. Grugger Smith asked, how did your interest in Elden Ring develop?
Ooh.
Huh.
I think you dealt me in, Sean, didn't you?
Yeah, I tried to get you in. I mean, I just played it because I played all the From Software stuff. Why did I get interested in the story?
I tell you what happened. I said I didn't want to learn anything about it. I wanted to go in completely blind. And then you said, oh, that's cool. I can be your tour guide. And then off the back of you giving me a nice tour of the world of Elden Ring, which you did in a very literal sense at points. You were like, well, we can go here, we can go to a hot place, a cold place, or a swamp. I was like, oh, no, swamp. Let's go to a swamp, please.
And I'd pose you little cryptic questions. I think you liked that.
Mm-hmm. And through that platonic discourse, we reached the lore zone, where occasionally, like a child, in my naivety, I would ask a question that would cut right through the nature of the world. Like, has someone already burnt this tree?
Yeah, has this tree been burnt?
Someone already
before?
burnt this tree because there's a lot of ash.
I think for me, when I was first playing Elden Ring, Godwyn face. Finding Godwyn's giant face at the bottom of Stormvale Castle, and there's no explanation for what this giant face is. You have to go. It's very awkward and difficult and strenuous to find this face, and nothing in game really explains what it is. And once you have your mind sort of open to be like, oh, okay, there's just big unanswered questions that you're sort of on your own with. There are some people nearby, if you know to talk to them, who give you a little bit of a hint, but I guess I didn't talk to them. There's something about that just got me interested to understand more. Alright, what's next? Let's try and clear the questions and then we'll continue with the royal family. Any tips or tricks to beat this big fella on a horse?
Oh my god, I mean, there could be several.
The Erdtree, no, this will be the Erdtree Guardian Sentinel, right at the beginning.
It could be Radahn. Radahn.
Oh yeah, it could be.
He's on the horse.
If it's Radahn, just keep resummoning. Just keep resummoning people.
Yeah, just keep resummoning.
Stay on your horse quite a lot and hop back on it when you get hit.
What I heard was if you take off all of your clothes before Radahn does his Mega Meteor attack, you actually get blown away from the kill zone of it. So if you can get nude really quickly before he drops on you like a meteor...
It's counterintuitive, but the clothes are hindering you a lot of the time. Any actual trips for Radahn? Just keep resummoning people and take pot shots from the horse. With that and the fire giant, honestly, you'd be surprised how many bosses you could do from a horse.
And
also
maybe
get tops
invest
off.
in... So the way the game works as well with different types of damages, the first time you poison something, scarlet rot something, bleed something, frost it, etc., is easier than all the other times. So it's a relatively small time investment to throw a couple of poison pots, do a bit of scarlet rot, or freeze them once. And then you get the benefit of that for a long time. But then, you know, if you're doing a blood-only build, bleeding-only build, you know, by the time you've bled them 6 times, it's just taking you forever to get that proc. It's not going to help you that much. So there's min-maxing you can do there.
Very, very wary about this becoming a battle tip stream. Speaking of tip, is this based on a true story? Yeah, have you not read the Bible? Have you not read the Sephiroth? Have you not read the... what are all those non-canon books of the Bible called? Dead Sea Scrolls.
Oh, fan fiction.
Yeah. Have you not read Archive of Our Own?
Oh, I've read Song of Ice and Fire, and it's very similar in a lot of ways to Song of Ice and Fire in that Song of Ice and Fire has big lore that's never really addressed and is only lampshaded.
Yeah. It's mainly
Shade.
action, but you've got questions you'll never get answered around the fringes that you can have a lot of fun with.
And that's always the most fun in a story.
No?
Unclear, Red.
No,
Red,
it is
unclear.
clear. No, it is clear. It is clear. Sorry, but
Wait,
you'll give a
wait.
very straightforward guidance on how resistance build-up happen after every proc, but when it comes to eating dung, you're on the fence.
I'm sorry, but if Simon Cowell comes down and says, "I'll give you £1 million for eating this dung," eat that dung.
Oh, so you're saying
Right.
overall, if someone gives you £1 million to eat dung, it's a net positive to your life and health and well-being?
Yeah. Yeah,
Alright,
if
yeah.
you think of all of the kale that you'll buy with that £1 million.
But I think when people ask a simple question like, should I eat dung, there's an implicit and very real all things being equal added to it, right? If someone says, like, should I hit myself in the head? You should be like, well, is
but
there a
that's-
millionaire waiting in the wings ready to spirit you away from your life of suffering?
Yeah, is there a deadly black widow spider on the top of your head that's going to sting you? Slap it. Everything is. There's no hard and fast. We're not in the world of Elden Ring. There's no hard and
No,
fast
but the
rules.
way you're talking, nothing
Everything's
becomes
contextual.
answerable. No query becomes answerable. Everything's like, or do you want me to caveat it for every bizarre fringe circumstance?
No, I just
Do you want anything
think that
from the shops? Oh, it depends. Is there £1 million with a little note next to it going, "This is for Sean Morley. Can you send it back to him?" Because if there is, then yeah. Nothing becomes language and communication falls apart under your system and under mine.
I just
Honestly,
think
it's
I just
very
think you
close
can
to the
answer- I
system
just-
everyone else uses.
I think you can answer most of the time yes or most of the time no, and still have some room for ambiguity. But what you came out with was just a hard and fast no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
There is no world in which I can imagine this works out. And I'm sorry, I'm a millionaire now, and I've got a mucky mouth.
You're a
And that's the
millionaire
difference
your
between me and you.
insides are rotting.
I'm a millionaire. I'm a mucky mouth millionaire. And there you are with your Twix.
Do you know who else
The
was a
thing you went to
millionaire?
the shop for. Yeah.
This guy.
Dr.
And do you know what people said about him?
Recommends the dung eater diet. He is loathsome, yeah. Right.
Didn't help him, did it?
You put some fingers on.
Okay, moving on. Martine asked, is the Elden Ring the quantum wave that underpins all reality?
Yes.
Uh,
Next question.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, you got it. Got it in one.
Do they say he eats dung? I think they
Yeah, they
do
do.
say it. Yeah, all right.
They say we loathe you because you eat dung.
We don't like you because you eat dung. What is a rebus?
Oh, I think it's a Scottish detective.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next question.
Okay.
We're really blasting through these now. We're getting good at this.
We're getting good. Do big Karl Marx's werewolves or vampires ever appear? What, in life? Yeah. I think the metaphor that the werewolves and the vampires represent occurs to people several times across their economic adulthood. And also they are real, yeah. If you go to...
And sometimes you find a big face at Karl Marx. You're mucking around in Manchester outside some luxury flats you're building. Boom, Karl Marx.
And
That's
the Beast
mad.
of Bodmin's real.
Do you know they found the big cat? There is a big cat loose in the UK. Did you know that?
Yeah, but everyone's going to be saying that vindicates all the big cat theorists, but surely it only vindicates one blob, the blob that was near that one cat.
It only vindicates one big cat theorist. Everyone else thought they were seeing a different cat.
Yeah, well, yeah, because that cat can't get around. The cat can't get around that extensively.
Have you seen a cat? Cats love to go on a walk. You
Cats
try and
love
keep
to go
those
on a
bad
walk.
boys down.
My favourite,
If
I
you
found
shout
a
at a cat,
YouTuber, big
they'll
cat
go on a walk.
YouTuber, who keeps saying that RAF hides the bodies. Because people keep saying, well, where are the bodies? You'd see the dead cats go, RAF comes in a big truck and takes them. Like, what, instantly? Are they all tagged? Like, how are they finding them out? The cats get around not that much, honestly. Aren't cats, like, territorial. Their territory extends beyond your house if you've got like a house cat, but they're not going into city. They're not going coast to coast, are they?
They can have surprisingly big territory, but they just only hang around in small areas. But they can go from like big distances in between the bits they hang around in.
But what are we talking? You're saying big distance? Are we talking intercity? Are we saying any cat's territory can cover like Huddersfield, Leeds, and Sheffield?
I'm saying that it's feasible that a cat's territory, if a cat could reliably use public transport, a la Pippin,
okay,
from Come Outside, I'm saying that cat's territory could extend to multiple different areas at other sections of its commute.
Oh, Fluff says
like the dogs in Russia that get the metro.
Fluff's saying they are territorial, but if there's only one big cat, it would never find the edge of its territory. This implies that cats learn their territory by just bumping into another cat's territory and going, well, that's where one of my borders is.
Wait, yeah, that's how I find out whose chips are mine. I just start grabbing chips, and then eventually
you just start reaching out, wait for your hand to get slapped.
Yeah,
you have to deduce which portion is yours.
And you know what? I think you'll find out if you keep doing that, more chips than you'd think are yours.
Yeah, your territory is always bigger than you think. That's one of the rules, one of the lessons of the evening. Plem has asked a wonderful question. Who is the Turtle Pope? Well, I think, so firstly, another fan favourite. George R. R. Martin famously really likes turtles, tortoises even. So there's quite a few in the game. And this is probably the most grand one. His name's, what is it called? Muriel? Miriam. And I think Miriam oversaw the ceremony to marry Radigan and Marika. They were married by this tortoise.
No. Miriam married Radigan and Renala. Renala is a new character because before they could get married, Radigan had to say sorry for invading all those times. He had to repent of his warlike ways. And he did that by having a little bath, and then they got married.
Yes, sorry. So Radigan was already married via this tortoise to Renala, who was like the grand preceptor of the Magician's Academy. And she went very Miss Havisham over it. She did a big Havisham, I would say. Although rather than obsessing over the marriage and Radigan, she sort of made a giant nursery of fake children and looked after them.
And she keeps them in a state of perpetual childlikeness by constantly reforming them into the children again.
Yeah, her children look like this. They don't have legs, so they can't run away, and they live in the rafters. She is kind of strange.
Equally, she does have adult children who've moved out. So
Who don't
she's
like
a bit of an
her
empty
as
nester.
I think
no, Rani likes her. Renna likes her mum because she turns up midway. Second phase of Renala's fight is Rani stepping in and saying, "Oh, you're winning."
Oh, I appreciate that. If you go to try and fight, Renala is a boss, but actually most of the boss fight is you fighting Renna.
You're just trying to get her attention because she doesn't actually try and hurt you. She just floats around in a bubble, and then you kill enough of these strange little creatures that the bubble pops, and you start hitting on her. And every so often she explodes, but it doesn't seem to be out of any sort of malice. And then she's back in the bubble. And she doesn't actually start doing anything until she's second phase.
So the Turtle Pope is more just a repository of information about something called the Liurnian Wars. But his main thing is that he married Radigan and Renala.
Sorry, that was a yawn. That was a big old yawn. If you like it, should take a clip, lasts longer.
Take a clip, it lasts longer. Gregor Smith asks, if you had to reattach yourselves to the cycle of rebirth, What would you want to be? Who knows? Reborn as, maybe? Reborn as.
I think ideally, if you're going to min-max it, you want to be something that's short-lived and capable of great good. So maybe a worm.
Okay.
Because they just make things slightly more composty, which is good in a general sense. You're not harming anything by munching on mulch.
For me, I think
you want to be reborn as Miles Tails Prower?
Yeah, but like this version. Miles Tails Prower, yeah.
He just looks a bit like you.
I think I'd make a good Miles Tails Prower. Any problems with this? Anyone got any issues?
What do you think is your strongest characteristic for... Okay, let's imagine. Hang fire. Do you want to do a role play of this?
Yeah, sure. Who are you going to be? Sonic?
No. I'm
Saint
CEO
Peter at
of
the Gate
Sega.
of Heaven.
Yeah, I'm Saint Peter at the Gate of Heaven.
Okay, and am I Sean Morley?
And what you're saying is, I'm saying like I can reborn for one night only. I will let you come back as any Sonic character.
Oh, it's a Cinderella scenario. I'm not going to be born as a baby Tails.
But no. You're being reborn as an adult Tails for one night only on Earth. But you have to convince me that you're a good Tails, and people aren't going to realize that you're someone else. That's it. I'm Jack Frosting you. You know the movie Jack Frost, where they're like, well, you messed up your life, but you can come back for a little bit as a snowman and fix it. You've died. You get the opportunity to Jack Frost your life as Miles Tails Prower, but you need to convince me you'll do a good job.
So sorry, but am I at once having to act in accordance with what we know about Tails? Am I role-playing as Tails, but I'm also fixing my life?
Well, so
life
you
I
know.
had. So I'm like flapping on my tails to fly and meet everyone I've ever wronged. And they'll go, well, Tails wouldn't have done that. Tails doesn't know your enemies.
My name.
Tails doesn't know your
Tails
victims.
is a nickname. It will be weird that Tails is breaking so many kneecaps, but you know.
No.
Look,
Sorry, you think
I'm
the
the
mess
angel
I've
of the
made out
pearly
of my
gates.
life will be fixed by Tails breaking kneecaps?
I don't make the rules. I'm just...
I don't think you understand the rules.
God's plan is ineffable.
This
Right,
is
that's
God's
it.
plan. You said the CEO of Sega insisted on this.
Do you know what? You're Big's the cat. That's it. Off you go.
I'm Big the cat.
Yeah.
Enjoy. So
you missed your chance. You missed your chance. You could have been Miles Tails Prower for the day, but no. Now you're Big the cat.
Big the cat's all right.
You ruined it.
I got a
You
frog.
ruined it. You missed your opportunity, golden opportunity.
I actually really don't want to be this guy. I don't like characters that are naked but have a belt on. I don't like characters that like are naked but then have some clothes. To be honest, I don't really like it in Tails. I've somehow gotten used to it. Like if you're fully naked, I go, that's fine, you're an animal. But if you're wearing some clothes, I'm like, you understand what nudity is. And
yeah,
you've
you're a rare shade.
you've chosen to go without for the majority of your body. Hello, Maggie. We'll just explain the lore of Elden Ring.
Okay, let's get back to Elden Ring.
All right, what's next? And what was your answer? Sorry, a worm?
Yeah, worm.
And my answer is that I tried to come back as Tails, but as a divine punishment, I'll come back as Big the cat.
Yeah, for hubris.
Dr. Plem asked, what's up with all the grafting?
Oh.
Have we left out Godric?
We've
Where's
not even
Godric?
touched on Godric yet. Yeah, we've not even touched on Godric. I
Where
did
does he
mention
live?
that Godric
Where does
did
he
decorate
fall?
his house with Godfrey. Godric is a distant relative of Godfrey and Marika's line. So presumably a child of Godwin somewhere down the line.
Okay. Well, we'll cover Godfrey. He's not
but
too.
He could just be a distant relative. They basically say he's the last
He's a member
of this
lineage,
original.
right?
Yeah. But then also Morgoth says that. He says, I'm the last of all kings.
Yeah.
It's not 100% clear.
And I'll put on this line that connects him to Godwin, maybe. Maybe? We don't really know where this guy comes from.
So Godric, what we do know is that at the time of the Shattering, Godric was in the capital. And he was a wimpy little guy. And he used a magic item to transform himself into something innocuous, and he escapes the capital so that he doesn't get beaten up by all of the other demigods. And he's managed to steal one of the bits of the rune that flew off. In fact, one of the really important bits. And he makes his way off to this big castle called Stormvale. And while he's there, he starts sticking limbs onto himself in an effort to make himself stronger. And so he starts taking limbs from specifically the Tarnished. So the Tarnished are coming back to the Lands Between, trying to make their way to the Erd Tree, and he sort of positions himself in between them, hunts them down, and he sticks their arms on his, and he uses their arms. And those are some of his kids. So he's been doing this to his kids as well. He started sticking arms on them.
Yes, so I think he has he's very low down in this hierarchy of divinity. And out of an obvious insecurity, and maybe also an attempt at a power grab, he's like, how can I just become personally more powerful? He just sticks limbs all over himself. And in fact, in the Scions...
It's because he loves Godfrey, and he wants to be as strong as Godfrey, but he's not as strong as Godfrey. So he needs all of these arms to lift the massive axe and stuff.
You can't see incredibly well in this picture, but you can see on the Scions, it's a lot of human limbs coming out really oddly. But also sometimes there's a bird feather and I think some of them have got a crab claw. They've just grafted whatever they can together.
And it's made explicitly clear by some items in the game that this is messed up. And that it's so messed up that they think that it's ruining the world around Stormvale. So it might be Godwin. Godwin may be part of grafting, because there's a lot of talk about using corpse wax to stick stuff together. So it may be that he's using the hardened fat of corpses as a sort of glue to sort of bind and graft these body parts onto himself. And then because of the rules of the world as they are, the body parts don't die. They do actually attach and they start growing and he can use them. And at one point he sticks a dragon on his hand. That's cool. He sticks a whole dragon on his hand and it's like a sock puppet, but it breathes fire. And he's like, forefathers, one and all, bear witness.
There's also an interesting thematic relationship between a guy you meet very early on who's just got arms coming out of everywhere, grafted on as part of their actual free will was to do this. And then you've got the Omen curse, where horns and growths are coming out of your body against your will, and you're shunned for that. This guy is a little bit shunned for this, but he wasn't born this way. He chose to do it to himself.
And there's a guy who's a snake, and he's got no arms. Oh, very little arms.
But anyway, in short, the grafting is something that sort of a lesser part of the nobility is doing to try and seem intimidating and increase their status. But everyone thinks they're a dickhead for it.
And he is not. In the grand scheme of things, he is not tough. There's a war memorial. They have these these little mausoleums where there's battles, and they're like a war memorial, and it tells you what's happened. And there's one of them that just says, "Oh yeah, Godric got his ass handed to him here, and he had to grovel like a little baby from Melania." Big Pot. Yep,
Big Pot. Yeah, we've covered Big Pot. Alexander is a...
There's a point at which Alexander gets cracked open, and then he rebuilds himself bigger and stronger from bits of pot and body that he finds lying around. So the pots don't necessarily die when you smash them up. but they do, and they can repair themselves, and they do get bigger and bigger over time. There's little pots who are called jar bears, and then there is one pot who's as big as a building, and he can't even move anymore. He just sits there with his arms crossed, looking unimpressed at you outside of a coliseum. And so presumably he's just been stuffing all the coliseum bodies inside of himself for years and years and years.
I think the idea of animating these pots was that they would put like the best bodies inside of them. So they're filled with corpses, and they'd put the best bodies inside of them.
They're hunting down strong warriors, I think, is the plan. And then Alexander's unique take on this is, well, instead of just finding them lying around, I'll fight them and kill them, and then they can go in my body. But he doesn't want to kill you. He just wants to fight. He's not nasty. He's like, put up your dukes.
Hello, Pete. Thank you for the resubscription. Sorry you've not been feeling very well. Hope you feel better soon. Radahn's, after the Radahn fight, Alexander snuffles around on the floor and eats the bodies, and his personality changes after that. He gets a lot more aggressive. He becomes a bit of a freak because he's eating people who are too strong. But people broadly like Alexander. I like him, but I do think he turns into a freak after he eats too many bodies off the floor.
Well, he does have a bath in the lava, which is quite nice. He seems to have a lovely time in the lava.
Thank you so much for sparking the welcome bear here at Birmingham New Street, the train station that Britain truly deserves. I love seeing new users in the chat and watching the community grow, sparkle, oscillate and fizz from strength to strength. Wishing one and all truly a Merry Fishmas wherever you are in your calendar, and toot toot, and most of all, jingle jingle.
Yeah, BNS in the chat.
So this is probably a good time to jump across to the second of Radagon and Renala's kids, because we mentioned him after the Radahn fight. General Radahn is kind of like a side character in all of this, but he's funny, incredibly cool. Yeah. He loves to fight. He's a surprisingly good whiz with some sorcery. He's surprisingly good at sorcery because he's descended. His mum's the head of the Rhea Lucaria Magic Academy. So very early days, he learns gravity sorcery, and he stops the motion of the stars. So previously, the stars moved, and you could literally tell what the future was going to be based on the predicted positions of the stars. And he was like, nah, I'm really good at gravity magic. Stop. But the main reason he learned gravity magic is because he loves his horse, and he got too big and too strong to ride on him anymore. So if you could get a little zoom in there, Sean, can we get a little zoom in on the horse?
If I get a better image of the horse, maybe. Oh, here's a good image. Maybe it's fan art, but it'll still demonstrate.
So there's his little horse.
Very tiny horse here.
And we do have to make very clear here, he's putting no weight on the horse. The horse is just a very old, very sweet horse. And he's using gravity magic to float above the horse at all times and ride around on him still because he loves him so much. The Radahn you do fight has been made crazy by a disease called the Scarlet Rot. So he's slightly less chill than maybe he would be. And so his best friends organised something called the Radahn Festival, which is actually just a nice way to get the biggest and best warriors from all around to euthanize him because he's too big and strong.
He's gone mad. A lot of people are still strangely fond of him, but he has to die because he's absolutely berserk. And there's a whole
he's huge.
There's just a whole area no one can go in.
Stars about. Yeah, he's just riding around on his little horse, and he won't get off the horse. And RSPCA's on the phone.
And perhaps an unintended side effect of him being defeated is that the stars resume their motion across the sky. But the implications of that can be left for another time. Should we cover the next child? And then we can get on to Mikkel and Melania and Melina, who I think are the absolute money shot of the game. That's where all the good juice is.
Rickard's a snake. Rickard's a snake.
I think he's called Praetor Rykard. I think you keep calling him Rickard because you know someone called Rickard.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, maybe I am. Yeah, so they pronounce it with a high Y, Rykard. He was the bad cop of the family for a lot of years. So he was given a lot of hunting down blasphemy jobs, and he did that brutally. And he invented a specific type of robot that flies around and it eats people.
Did he do that?
Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry, those robots, yeah.
The abductor virgins are his robots.
He made
no one riding
This
them.
guy is an absolute freak. He made, the abductor virgins, lots of...
filled with bacon. But he, at some point...
Yonic energy here.
He comes across a blasphemy that he really, really likes. About a big snake that's going to devour the world. And so he goes and jumps into the snake. I'm assuming big snake like a sleeping bag. He dives straight in, and then his little arms and legs pop out the sides of it. And he's like, I'm a snake now. And he's kind of a side character. He doesn't have a huge amount of direct impact on the story. He is in league with Rani. There's an item that says he's in league with Rani. So whatever he's up to, he's doing that. He's got a strange relationship with a couple of people, and he's also got an adoptive snake daughter who he loves.
Yeah, he hasn't got a huge amount going on. To boil him absolutely down is he fused with a gigantic snake and he wanted to eat everyone. He wanted to eat everyone he could, and then they'd all be in the snake with him, and that was his plan. And
but
it
also
doesn't work out.
The snake devours power. So the snake is capable. So like he's not just somehow he's still conscious, and his face pops out of the snake, despite the fact he's been eaten by the snake. But most people, if you get eaten, you turn into this red goop, like that's coming out of his head there, and you're just part of the snake now, but your power is part of the snake, and then he's in control, or maybe the snake's in control. It's hard to tell.
Okay, and those are just
so Radigan, having had 3 adult children with Renala, then decides to split up and get together with Marika.
Oh, these are the children. Yes, okay. So these are actually the children of Radigan and Renala, who become divine through the marriage with Marika. So they become sort of divine after the fact because their father marries Marika,
God.
and then these children are conceived when they are married.
Which is complicated by the fact. Is this the time when we get into it?
Yeah, let's, because I think this is one of the more confusing elements of the entire game. So, one thing you need to understand, try and wrap your head around, is that Marika is Radigan, and Radigan is Marika. These are the same person. Now that's confusing, because as we know...
So one of them does this, and the other does this.
Yeah, they're depicted differently on statues. It's confusing because Radigan was married to Renala.
Presumably the time... No, Radigan and Marika have had a conversation, so at some point they were separate.
I think there is debate.
Also they were
there
never
is debate
separate.
about whether they were always the same being or whether they fused into each other. There's some evidence either way.
But that... I mean, I do yoga. I could do more impressive T-poses than that.
So, theory 1... Marika and Radigan are somehow have somehow always been the same person. That's not clear how that happens because they've got these histories and different storylines they were in, and no one's going, hang on, aren't you Marika? Aren't you? No one's doing that.
To be fair, up until the point where they talk to each other, Marika does stuff and then presumably sits in the capital for a bit.
Yeah.
Radigan does stuff, and then at a certain point, they then start having kids together, which is weird. And yet they could be avatars of the same god, but in that case, why has the god chosen to have another avatar running around? Right?
It's not clear why. The other theory is that they are fused later on, and because Marika gets stuck in the Erd Tree after she breaks the Elden Ring, Radigan's also there in with her. When you meet them, they're fused, so maybe they got fused in there as punishment. But
at some point they have to have had kids, so.
But like that's fine if you were a being that contains a male being and a female being, you could probably just have kids just when you decide to.
Oh yeah, parthenogenesis.
Yeah.
But I think the important thing is that the kids are cursed, and not even in the Omen cursed way. The kids are uniquely cursed.
Yeah. So as a result of coming out of a marriage between two entities that are the same person, the next three kids are all
two in a
very
question mark
weirdly
kids.
cursed. Yeah, this kid is the biggest question mark in the game, honestly, Melina.
Oh, that's what Rebus is. I didn't know what a Rebus was. Thank you.
I didn't know what a Rebus was, but thank you for saying. Do you know the order?
Tend not to,
you don't actually know
to
the
lean
order
into
here.
words. Yeah. Well, we do. We know Mikla and Melania are twins, so they're the twin
cover
prodigies.
Let's cover Melania is more simple, and Mikla is more complicated. So we'll start with Melania. Is probably the simplest of these three.
She's a Valkyrie with leprosy.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's Melania all over. She's a Valkyrie. She was born with leprosy. And a Melania?
Oh yeah, I kept changing it to the I kept changing
Malania?
it to Donald Trump.
There we go.
Cool.
She looks like this. She's very cool. She's hasn't got much of
there
a
is
sense
an
of humor.
outer god. There is an outer god called the Scarlet Rot. It was sealed by someone who then taught Melania how to use the sword. But also Melania is just filled with the Scarlet Rot and can at a certain point turn into a big flower or a series of branches filled with lovely butterflies. Oh, there's a shrimpy there.
Yeah, so the Scarlet Rot is at once a disease, but also an extension of a god that represents the disease. And
it's also like an abundance of life. Like whenever you see the Scarlet Rot, lots of like plants, sea life things are growing. And there's these little creatures that we call the shrimpies, but they're called the pests. The shrimpies seem to just sprout from the rot. You find them sort of wallowing around in it.
what is her name? Is it Melania? Is it Melania?
Michelle? It's Mal is in malapropism.
Melania.
Malodrus. And you're looking for Millicent.
Well, I was looking for Melania, but in order to get to Millicent. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on with the rot. It is at once a god and a disease. It is worshipped by like an intelligent but uncooperative race of slightly humanoid shrimp people, and
people who wear mushrooms for hats.
So when she got truly fully rotted up, was she had a big battle with Radahn, and she just went full rot mode in order to win. That created not this lake of rot, but it created a lake of rot. And out of it, just clones of her kept spawning, and they're all very ill, and they have leprosy, and they're dying, but they're also seeking her out. And they don't know why, she doesn't know why. That's just what's happening.
Amanita, Gregor, Amanita.
Hello, Cressop. Very good question. I'm afraid my answer is going to be, sadly, I can't. Thank you very much for the resubscription, though.
I would go for, what were we saying the other day? Lamp, wood, and then there was another word that we said. Lamp, wood.
Mug tree.
If I had to sum up my Elden Ring understanding, I would sum it up as, who is Melina? Who is Melina? Any of these other three words? You could put, who's this guy? That's another one.
Yeah. Get a load of this. 5, too many.
That's way too many.
What's popping off? 3.
What's popping off? That's really good. Can we get Cressop in the chat for Cressop?
That's truly Cressop's name.
Now we're going to cover the
And then
second
the other
most
twin?
mysterious of the two prodigal twins, Mikola.
Mikola's a little baby boy. A little sweet baby boy.
Is cursed with eternal youth, and also sometimes in people's dreams
Is a ghost lady.
they appear as a ghost woman called Saint Trina. So Mikola has a sort of relationship with sleep. They are eternally a little boy, and also they have the power to just be anyone's friend. People just like them, but in a way that's described as like a supernatural influence. People just like
Mikola,
him. People just trust him.
It says that Mikola has the power to compel affection. So it's not that they just like him. It's that if he needs them to, they love him.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm describing.
Well, no, because you could not like him, and then he's like, well, yeah, I do actually need you to like me, so now you love me. But it does seem that like you get no options. And interestingly as well, not even thinking about this, but like there's an element of a lack of will or a lack of ownership of your actions. So it seems like it would be easy for you to do something like, I don't know, tell someone to kidnap you.
Yeah, well, now we're getting into it. So, what do we know that Mikola's
Till we get
done?
egg full of blood.
So their basic attributes: eternally youthful, can compel affection, appears in people's dreams as Saint Trina, but also they make a secondary, blasphemous other tree. So we got the Erd tree with Marika at the
big.
base. That just looks over the whole world. That's the religious order. That's society. That's the universe. And then Mikola's like, I'm going to make a second tree. This is going to be my tree.
And all the people that you don't like in your tree can come hang out around my tree. And there's going to be games. There's going to be PlayStation 2. And I'm going to let everyone stay up as late as we want. And so he invites all the Shrimpies, and he invites all the Albinorics, and he invites all the Misbegotten, who are like chimeric harpies. He doesn't invite the harpies. They just sit around and sing.
There's this race of people. Maybe not a race, just there's
They
a
are
bunch
a race,
of
right?
artificial. Well, what's a race here? Because they're not. They're
That's true.
artificial. They're just made. So a whole bunch of people got made. There's the first group of them who look like this, and then there's the second group who look like frogs. Right? They're just completely artificially created people.
First generation Albinorics' legs are disappearing, and that's meant literally. Their legs are literally just going, and they don't work for them, but also they're semi-translucent in the leg department.
Yeah.
There's an implication they're made out of like whatever belief is, whatever runes are, whatever faith is in this game is a real thing, as we've established. and it's kind of like the Albinaurics are made out of some sort of gold metal alchemic mixture. Probably by the Rhea Lucarians, because they've got a bunch of silver-coloured crabs wandering around that look like Albinaurics and bleed like Albinaurics in the garden.
And essentially, no one really has a place for these guys in conventional society. They're kind of shunned, and they're pushed to the fringes. And a lot of them, the Albinauric diaspora, end up in one of two places. They either go full blood mode and go and live with Moog, and they turn red. I don't know why. Too much blood. Or they go to the Haligtree. And the Haligtree...
But the Haligtree is hard to find. It is not easy to get to the Haligtree. It's very much... it's not an open border policy on the Haligtree. There are people that will do wrong to the Haligtree if they get the chance. Like, it's filled with heretical creatures that exist outside the Golden Order. So Miklas very specifically says, you know, not everyone can come here. I'll keep it a secret. But if you're good and Mikla likes you, or you're like an Albinauric, you can claim asylum, I guess, in the Haligtree.
And what they do with this asylum is there seems to be an inducement for people to go into cocoons. So all the Albinaurics, they just cocoon themselves, as you can see here. And also, Mikla goes into a big cocoon at the base of the Erd Tree. And you can see that there's actually not a cocoon there now, because that cocoon gets stolen by Moog. Moog steals Mikla's cocooned body and takes it into a kind of underground Babylonian society that he has repurposed into his bloodland.
He takes it to his underground pension monument, and then he fills it full of blood. But he doesn't provide the blood himself. He gets his lads to go fetch blood for him. Specifically, I think the blood of maidens, finger maidens.
Yeah. And so what's kind of fucked here, right, is he's got this egg, right? This guy's become a big egg. And then he cracks a hole in the egg, and then he turns himself into just pure blood, and then he pours himself in the egg. And then when you walk into and find him, you find Moog for the first time. He's just lying as blood in an egg on top of Mikla, and Mikla's just not moving. There's no real sign that Mikla's even alive. So he's just lying on it. He's creating a blood wet egg full of his own form.
And he puts it inside of a giant Skellybone's pelvis as well. As if the metaphor wasn't clear enough. He takes a big woman's pelvis, because there's just a few big women knocking about on chairs in the story. Not sure what they're doing. There's one of them in a church. She's an Albinauric, but there's also just some giant Skellybones.
Well,
he wants Mikla to become a god, and therefore Moog to become an Elden Lord. So Moog has stuff he wants done to the world. Presumably, can I not be an omen? Because some of his teeth are like sticking into his face, and one of his horns is jagged into his eye. It's grown all the way around and into his eye. So I imagine he wants to get that fixed. So he wants a god to do what he would like. And the only way he can think about it is he can find one of his siblings who has the capacity to become a god. Not all of the demigods have the capacity to become like a full-on god. They'd become Empyreans. Mikla does. Melania does. Rani does. And he thinks that filling the cocoon full other way around, I think. Mikla's the god. Moog is the consort.
Yeah,
he thinks that filling the cocoon full of blood will let him become a god.
Yeah. So Moog just, he's not eligible for this position. Probably would take it if he could, but he's got the Omen Curse, and he's sort of been abandoned by the Greater Will. But anyone can be a consort. If they'll let Godfrey in, they'll let anyone in. Guy's mad.
He's got a cat on his shoulder.
Yeah. That's bananas.
And it's implied as well that Rani is the next legitimate god figure. because her whole narrative is, I don't want to fulfill the role that fate has put aside for me, and or if I have to do it, I want to do it on my own terms. So it's sort of implied that like Rani is the next in line.
What does PQ do? It only does stuff for me. It lets me pull the next question from the question buffer, which is, what order did Erdtree, Elden Beast, Elden Ring, Outer Gods come to the world? This is a good
game
question.
Of only connect.
All right, let's
maybe it's worth us going to our Madboard timeline for a second, because we do have a little bit of timeline set up.
Here's our
there.
timeline. So, pre-tree, we'll start off. We won't go into too much detail because it goes a bit mad, but we can cover this question. Pre-tree, the Age of Dragons. There has to be an Elden Ring at this point, because we know from there was a big dragon that was Elden Lord. So there must have been an Elden Ring.
He invented the idea of the Elden Lord, in fact, I think. They said, like, oh, that's his... The role of Elden Lord is named after what Placidusax does.
Yeah, there's a giant dragon called Placidusax, and it's the first Elden Lord, which is a position that Godfrey holds and then Radagon holds, like in our timeline. The timeline that we play.
And we
around.
Subsequently hold as well.
Yeah. And the player character has the ability to become the Elden Lord. That is the standard ending. And you become the Elden Lord as the consort to Marika. Now, because there's already an Elden Ring, the Outer God, specifically, I guess, the Divine Will, all that's already happened. So, at some point, they all come as a bundle. However, Elden Beast is the Elden Ring. Consider them one and the same. And the Outer God sort of creates the Elden Beast, or even is the Elden Beast. So all those three things, consider them, they just land together one day at a time that's even before the beginning of our timeline. There's no knowledge of it. All we know is that at one point, a super Outer God creates some kind of disparity and distinction in the world from which all other materials, life forms, and concepts come. And then at some point, this planet is visited by something called the Greater Will, and that kicks everything into motion. But the one thing that doesn't exist yet is the Erdtree. And the Erdtree, I believe, it's not a standard, it's not known, it's more my theory. But there was a thing called the Crucible, which was like a gigantic, ever-sprawling tree that was unchecked and
which is represented by ever-growing horns in the game. So things with lots of horns, budding horns, that's the Crucible. It's the primordial form of life, and then that is refined in its later form
somewhere. Did I put the statue
as
in?
the Erdtree.
There's a statue in Lanedale of like a big chaotic tree, and then a woman nurturing one sprouting of it. And I believe that is Marika
pruning, pollarding.
Yeah, forming the Erdtree and picking one thing from the Crucible to create a kind of monotheistic order around one tree rather than untapped life and uncontrolled growth.
And so quite specifically, I was just going to say, quite specifically, some of the ancestor spirits are described as having the capacity to grow into a new Erdtree, and do not for various reasons.
So the Erdtree.
But
Go ahead.
If the Erdtree is a breed of celestial tree, there is also, quote unquote, the Erdtree, which is this big one here.
Yeah.
And this is the big Erdtree that Marika builds the Golden Order religion around. There is potentially a small one that's guarded by a Crucible Knight that's the progenitor of this tree, that's hollowed out and completely destroyed, and it's like forgotten in a corner of the map. But as far as you can tell, this is the Erdtree. It is an Erdtree. There are minor Erdtrees and Erdtree seedlings and seeds, but this is the Erdtree.
And not to open up another can of worms, but as you can see, it's slightly ethereal and a bit see-through. So there's a question about whether the Erd tree is even like really there. Like, is it really a physical living tree, or is it just a manifestation of faith?
Has the Erd tree been burnt before?
Yeah, and that is its own thing. Let's get some more out of the question buffer.
Yeah.
Brad Santa has asked, who is this Will, and what makes them so great? I think they have access to a lot of fingers. I think that's very good on anyone's CV.
It's got a beast.
Mm-hmm. Fingers and a
pet
beast.
Owners are usually happier.
That's an easy hiring process. If I
Do you
had
have
to
a
work
beast?
out. I've got some fingers. I don't even rate them. No beasts. So I'm already out of the running.
No beasts. You have the capacity to give someone a best friend who's also a dog, who's also a person.
Yeah, you can dispense dogs. Yeah.
They're not even just dogs. Dogs that are your friends, your best friends.
Yeah, they're fully sentient, and you'd want to date them as well.
And you might want to
Dateable
date
friends.
So it's really, there's a lot for a lot of different people there.
Yeah, there's a lot of plus points in the column. Ed Fiasco has asked, is there 9/11 in Elden Ring? Yeah, I'd say so. There's a few potential contenders for the 9/11 in the Elden Ring. Obviously, the shattering of the Elden Ring is a big one.
Yeah.
There's also
burning of the Erd tree.
The burning of the Erd tree. That's quite a 9/11, because if you imagine 9/11, really, it's not just a disaster. It's a terrorist attack, but it's specifically a large structure that looks over the landscape being destroyed in a single event. So that's very 9/11.
And specifically looks like also a mushroom cloud.
Yeah. And actually, if it was done by the Tarnish, those were people that maybe your imperialist forces actually, heavily damaged, and it is a consequence of quite an expansionist and invasive foreign relations and overseas policy. So I'd say the burning of the Erd tree is the 9/11 of the Elden Ring universe.
And it happens twice.
Yeah.
And
one
maybe,
for the Erd tree and then one for the Pentagon.
and maybe it was an inside job also.
Yes, there are in fact nutters, it's all a bit tinfoil hat, but there are people going, well, America maybe burnt her own Erd tree to gain a bit more favour with the Greater Will.
And also potentially that the Erd tree needs to be burnt to propagate life properly.
Yeah.
It's part of the natural...
A lot of people like to talk about serotiny. There are trees that need to be set on fire to spread their seeds.
And so, of course, if we go back to the Crucible isn't just... the Crucible can be a melting pot of things. It can be part of alchemy. You can melt metals together in the Crucible.
Hello, the Gongwei.
There's multiple levels to this. It's also a place where you play pool and snooker.
Yeah, can be, yeah. We are elbow deep in Elden Ring lore, so I hope you're ready to get stuck in. We're actually just pulling questions out of a question buffer right now. Bird.exe asked, what happened to the furtive pygmy? Turned into Manus, right? Went mad.
Well, no, because the furtive pygmy's humanity, and then...
Manus went mad.
Is Manus specifically the furtive pygmy?
Yeah. I believe that Manus is the furtive pygmy. Manus wields power of humanity, and they've been transformed by the soul. I think Manus is the furtive pygmy. So to answer your question, Bird, the furtive pygmy turned into this guy, I believe.
Big hand. Big hand.
Yeah, he's famously got a big hand.
He's quite crucibly as well.
Yeah, he is, isn't he? Well, I think he's become bestial, which is part of what?
There is potentially a suggestion that the world of Elden Ring is actually the world which is created at the end of the Dark Souls cycle. Because, and there's a question that I know in the pot, which is, what's the deal with patches? And it's not entirely clear why there's a patches here. It may just be that patches is a universal constant. It may be that Patches literally somehow has sidled out the back door of the universe and into the new one that regrows at the spot at which it was destroyed, and is now just mucking about in this new universe.
Patches actually comes from Armored Core. The first Patches is not even in the Dark Souls universe. First Patches is in a big robot.
For some reason, the devs love Patches. They put him in every game, and he always betrays you in some form.
I think this one, the
completely
first
untrustworthy.
one, just begs for his life and then runs away.
Oh, that's quite funny.
I don't think he actually tricks you or tries to hurt you. He's just... You're used to so many people being like, I'll go down with my robot, I'll go down with my machine, you can destroy me. And he goes, oh, don't hurt me. And then he just runs away. Just a quick joke.
Thank you for the patches, Josie Russell. Who is the person with the nicest haircut in
all of Elden Ring? Huh.
Maybe the guy who's in... Maybe the Zamor heroes. They've got, like, beautiful flowy hair. The ancient hero of Zamor.
Would you say they've got a nice haircut? Do you know what? Yeah, it's all right.
Well, it's more when they move around, it sort of flows out in a beautiful sort of maximum coat.
I think that's the best pick you could get of their hair.
But he's blowing a little kiss as well. That's quite nice. In fact, it looks like a fashion shoot. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Who else has got lovely hair? Marika's got nice hair.
I think given the time, we need to... we should just empty the buffer, I think. Like to could have won playing Elden Ring.
No, too scary.
I haven't tried it, to be honest. It's never really occurred to me.
I give the cats want attention every so often. They get a pet. Does that count?
Yeah.
Okay. Patches need scratches.
Why does that woman turn into a big head? A woman who turns into a big head.
Talking about Rykard's, where Tanith eats Rykard's head, maybe. I don't know. Bird, if you're here, could you...
yeah, I don't know what this is about.
Expound?
Oh, it could be Selen.
Yes!
Selen turns into a big head. Selen. Oh, we love Selen. This is an amazing question. So we think you might be asking about the sorcerer Selen. In fact, the maligned and dangerous sorcerer Selen.
The Graven Witch.
Who, if you advance her quest line all to the very end, bit of a spoiler, but she accidentally gets turned into this giant head. And if you go up to her and talk to her, if you go to, well, the reason I don't think it's on purpose is if you go to her and talk to her after she's become the big head, she goes, oh God.
Well,
and people don't do that if their plans have gone well, do they? Do they go,
I disagree completely. Because you've already met the two Glintstone masters who are almost completely stone, and they don't even talk to you, right? They're just like, because they've basically in the world of Elden Ring, if you go Galaxy Brain, that is a thing that can literally happen to you. Your brain turns into a crystal, and you become a Galaxy Brain, and you gain this Glintstone. Glintstone is a construction purely of the mind. It's derived from outer space, and it's derived from pondering what's something that's known as the primeval current of life, which is from which stars are derived, and stars are the matter from which all life is derived. But because you're tapping straight into the source, weird stuff happens to you, like with these guys. And what I think's happened to Selen is that Selen has transformed into a pure crystal being, surrounded by all of the other bits of other mages she's stuck on to provide her with enough stuff. And she's just got enough her left that she can just barely whisper out a couple of words, but she's mainly stone now, so she can barely speak. So that's why she's like, my apprentice. Yeah. But she's actually having a whale of a time inside that big ball.
Are you guys reading this? Just putting it ahead. We're just remembering things on the fly for 2 straight hours.
Right, give Gongwei the big board. Give Gongwei the big board.
Sorry. So
full span of the board.
This is what we've been making over the last few weeks.
This is all we've thought about.
We've just been recapping and discussing our own theories in this board between ourselves for quite some time now. Will the big board be shown to the group? No. As I said earlier, if you want access to the big board, what you have to do is talk to me in Catbox about Elden Ring at regular intervals for at least a couple of weeks, and we'll just naturally invite you to it as an extension of our newfound shared interest.
And this stream is us, like, we clearly want to share. It's just we also really want more people joining in, and so here's the carrot and the stick. you got to chat. There's what's the name of your thread inside of the Discord? !Discord in the chat to bring up the Discord. Inside of Gams in the Discord, there is a thread that's devoted to talking about Elden Ring. And frankly, people aren't mad enough about Elden Ring in the comments there.
I am desperate for someone else to go insane about Elden Ring. If someone else wants to lose their head and make graphs like this with us, we will welcome you with open arms.
Let me see. I'm just gonna quote some stuff that we've said, that I've said at least. It's a bit unfair, but there's some mad sentences that just out of context.
I'd kind of like to go over my many into one into many theory.
Oh, go on it.
From the big board. Because my whole thing, if I'm trying to find a big theme about Elden Ring, is it's about splitting and reunification as the central metaphor in Elden Ring's cosmology, which already I think is a pretty good sentence. Because the Elden Ring shatters into many great runes. The Crucible of Life is then pruned and turned into a single tree. The primordial Elden Ring... we're supposed to go in vertical columns. So there's an Elden Ring made of many rings. It is shattered into many separate runes, and your job throughout the game is to make them whole again to become the Elden Lord. Marika picks a single trunk from the Crucible of Life that she turns into the Erd tree. Also, she similarly is unified from 2 beings into 1 being. And as well as Placidusax, the initial Elden Lord is like 2 dragons with like 2 heads. But you can also see that they used to have more heads, so that's another weird being that's like more than 1 guy. And it seems like from older versions of the Elden Ring used to be different, has been shattered, has been recreated. It's a lot like Gwyn and the First Flame. Yeah?
Just a quick little zoom up on that primordial Elden Ring as well there. That appears in a couple of places in the game, and not a big deal is made out of it. It looks close enough to the Elden... It looks close enough to the Elden Ring that you know of, that you just go, all right, that's the Elden Ring. I've been looking at this for days. But then you look a bit closer, you go, hang on. There's like 5 to 6 more circles, and there's big wibbly bits at the bottom. That's a bit different. What?
Yeah, just
it's in a room. It's in a room that you are constantly fighting for your life in, and then as soon as you're finished fighting for your life in that room, it teleports you out.
Yeah. So the only way to see it is to finish a boss and then teleport back after the boss fight teleports you away. And there is also a statue underneath this engraving of the Elden Ring that is also incredibly interesting. Where is it? It's in Malekith's boss arena. Look at the statue underneath the primordial, this depiction of the primordial Elden Ring. Who is that in that statue? What are the dogs around them all about?
The 3 sisters. The 3 sisters. You're given 3 ghost dogs early on in the game. There's 3 statues. In the Lunar Rise, there are 3 pavilions with a single sister statue inside of them. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3.
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't put that together.
3 children. Yeah. There's all sorts going on. I've not even had a cogent thought about the 3 sisters yet, because they are not the Carrion royal family. I think they pre-exist the Carrion royal family. There's a hidden graveyard. There's a hidden royal graveyard in Raya Lucaria. And the only thing you get for finding it is just like a consumable humanity or a thingy. Then you look at it, you're like, oh, these are all royal graves. They've all got crowns on them. Whose graves are they? It's not clear. Welcome to Elden Ring.
splitting and reunification in the wider world. This guy was one guy, then became many guys. Melania is constantly like having clones of her birthed out of the Lake of Rot. This guy was one guy, then became one with a snake trying to eat everyone. And then, of course, there's Selen, who, accidentally became a lot of different guys in a big orb.
Three fingers?
I don't know if we've got time for the three fingers, honestly. I think we should clear the question buffer and then probably call it a night, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I've got a dead quick three fingers.
Okay.
Three fingers is a very explicitly Cthulhuoid King in Yellow type god. So where the Greater Will wants to instill order and division, the Three Fingers god, the god of chaos, wants everything to become one in one big melting pot of stuff.
Yeah,
and that
it's
is
very
achieved
Neon Genesis Evangelion.
through burning everything with a yellow flame. And this god is so powerful that if you make contact with it or you even ponder it too hard, you go insane, your eyeballs go on fire, and fire shoots out your eyes. It's proper deep Cthulhuoid stuff, and it's so mad. And the only reason that people can make contact with the Three Fingers and not go completely mad is that Mikola is whispering in their dreams the entire time, saying, "Hey, don't go too mad. Remember, you're a person." Oh yeah, I mean, if me and Sean, look up the Glintstone scholars Azura and Lusat, their brains have expanded to the point in which they cannot function anymore.
Yeah,
that's us. That's us. Join us in our orb.
The way, also, by the way, we've not used any resources from this. We've not been looking back at our original thing, and honestly, we haven't covered much of what we wanted to cover.
We've not even discussed all of the children yet.
We
not
haven't
even
got through all the
properly
children.
Discussed Melina, the Kindling Maiden, the fire, the Fell God, the Fled God.
We haven't talked about the
Rock
Crucible.
God.
The Crucible's my favourite bit of the whole lore.
The
We've only
Crucible,
discussed it in
the
the
stars.
briefest. Yeah.
The Glintstone creations.
And Melina, the biggest question of the whole game. How many people are actually parts? Not mentioned Torrent. Nothing to say about Torrent. Completely lore neutral. The only thing that's interesting about Torrent, actually, is that Torrent clearly used to belong to Mikola. So why have we ended up with Mikola's horse?
And why does Melina give it to us?
Why does Melina have Mikola's old horse? How many people are actually parts or avatars of other people? Almost everyone has a part or an avatar or a separate version of themselves. Identity. You know what I was saying, that I think the core concept is splitting, merging, and reunification? Splitting and reunification, the central metaphor of Elden Ring's cosmology. Rani is R'Lana. Melania has split up into lots of separate different people. Mikola is two separate different people. Everyone has some sort of fissure and plurality to their identity. This guy was sort of partly a snake, and now he's also, but in the snake with other people. Yeah, and now his wife's consuming him to try and keep him alive inside her stomach.
If we take the core conceit of Elden Ring, is that the world, it's a world in which the figurative is literal. The laws of the world aren't just laws, they are physical things that exist in the world and somehow underpin the existence. In the same way, personal conflicts or personal dissonances are recreated physically in the bodies or actions or identities of the characters. So pretty much every character has some sort of metamorphosis as they go on, as they travel, and it represents the conflicts that they face inside of this world, which is explicitly set up as this world is broken, something's gone wrong, and we're not sure what it is. Because it may be the Shattering, but it may be something worse than that, because the Shattering potentially happened in response to Rani's assassination plot, and Rani only started that plot because she sensed something was wrong with the way that the universe was. So, like, everyone, no one.
Everyone is several people and should be understood. Imagine, building on what Catbox said about the literal is physical. Imagine if, like, you know, there's who your family know you as, and then there's who people at your work know you as. What if that actually caused like a literal fissure in your identity and your personhood? That's what we're dealing with here.
And not mental, you split.
Yeah.
There's two yous now. There's a you that goes to work, and there's a you that hangs around with your family. And the one that goes to work has 4 arms and maybe eats a lot of croissants.
Yeah, and the other one, if anyone ever meets them, a little health bar appears at the bottom of the screen and choral music starts playing. BirdEXE asked, why is that big person in an egg? Well, we covered that. That's Mikola. Mikola tried to go into an egg to cure their curse. That's been dealt with.
Specifically to water their tree.
But Mikola and the Sleepy Gang currently...
Nothing... There's argument about whether Mikola is a lost... the Mikola / Saint Trina is a cut storyline. There's still content in it that's there. It's a very abstract one, if it is a storyline.
There's not a lot about Mikola, only hints and clues. Mikola is going to be the focus of the Elden Ring DLC, which drops in 8 days. Is that right?
That's mad. I can't believe that's close.
So that story will tell us more about Mikola. Mikola has been very heavily trailed as being the focus. So no, not really. The Haligtree seems to have been built for a purpose that was never reached, and then Mikola, who was driving the whole thing forward, got yanked out of the roots. Will there be a quiz at the end of this? No?
It can do. Did you have a nice time?
Yeah, did you have a nice... Was this... I don't plan on making more streams where we just vomit out like this, but have people enjoyed it?
Do you want to play seamless co-op Elden Ring at some point before
do you want to play
DLC
Elden Ring with us?
We can have an Elden hang.
See, this is what I hoped for. I knew that some people would be like, this would be a magic bullet for some people. And then for others, we're like, don't care.
Yeah.
And that's how it was always supposed to be.
I've got some ironing to do. I like listening to voices for a bit. Do you know what? That's fine.
Well, I'm sorry it didn't manage to cure your illness, a good Pete, but I hope your immune system will see you the rest of the way. I should see how many questions are left, just to get a bit of a...
What's Patch's deal? Patches is an in-joke with the developers and potentially a guy so slippery he's escaped the end of the universe. Next question.
Yeah. We got 20 left. So we'll take them at a fair clip. What's the crack with Fia and Godwin? So Fia, she is the deathbed companion. I have done a gig with the voice actor of Fia, I think. They're in a comedy duo, or at least was at the time.
What?
Did I tell you that?
What? No, you never told me you gigged with Fia.
I gigged with Fia, yeah.
You can't... The deathbed companion?
Yeah, I gigged with the deathbed companion, yeah. Don't make a big deal about it, okay?
You were on a... You were on a lineup. On a mixed bill. What slot was Fia doing? 15? Or is she closing in the duo?
I don't remember really. I think it was an immaterial night, so it was sort of immaterial who was where.
It was an immaterial night. Fia is something of a bit of like an energy vampire. If she hugs you, she takes some of your life energy and she stores it within herself, and then she will grant it to her lord to restore them to life. That's the purpose of a deathbed companion. So it's sort of like a take on a bed warmer, I think, but instead of it being your normal bed, it's your deathbed, and they will raise you back to life in a sort of reverse rebirth thingy.
Yeah.
Fia has taken it upon herself to fix Godwin. She looked at the big fish man and was like, I can fix him. And she tries her very best to do so. And she gives you a hug every so often, which is nice. She's
Literally,
the one
it's
character
a hug,
in this game.
But it's very clear
the
the fact that she only ever hugs you on a bed, that this is a metaphor of some kind of like vampiric sex. You know, you are losing something by sleeping with this woman, and then she will bestow that energy to someone else. It's a very interesting metaphor about
it's very
sex and the loss
17th century expensive lust and a waste of shame type. You know, harking back to the time where they thought that seminal excretions was actually some of your soul being shot out.
That's exactly
and that's why masturbate was bad. But also there is an air of like gentility to it. So the blessing you get is called the Baldachin's blessing. A baldachin is a type of bower cover. It's that sloping cloth and potentially sort of there's baldachins everywhere. I think it's CHAIN at the end.
But what's the beginning? Balder, like BALDER. Chin? CH. Or is it baldaquin like this? Yes, it is. Look, this is a baldaquin. It's like drapery, like this.
And she's wearing like kind of drapery stuff as well. So it's all bowers. It's all 4-chamber bedposts. It's all sort of that sort of bed space, but not dreams, because that's Mikla.
Yeah, she's a very interesting concept. I like this nice like artwork of her, you know, hugging a corpse naked in bed. She's an interesting idea, and the fact that she's trying to power up this giant dead fish.
I just want to say as well, she loves her job. She will go to extreme lengths to do it. She like there's no implication at any point that this isn't anything but an incredibly like mythic, magical thing to do, and it's her life's work. And she's seen a dead god, and she's like, I can restore you to life. And this is the apotheosis of her being.
Yeah, 100% a vocation. Tip Foster asks, how does one become a pot boy? Honestly,
there is a character who wants to be a pot boy. There's a guy who wants to be a pot boy. He asks the pot whether he can be a pot boy, and he says, you're not ready yet. You need to become stronger. So potentially you need to be strong. Potentially they're made by the wizards of Raya Lucaria out of glintstone, because you find some of them being kind of made or in different starts, and they're kind of like a product that they sell to Lanedale, the royal capital, to collect bits and stuff to feed the Erd tree. Next question.
Next question.
We got 18 to do.
We got the view on that now. How many of the gods from the lore, past and present, can you name? Oh, okay. There's the Formless Mother. There's the Blood Star. There's the Greater Will. There is
Rock God.
The Rock God.
There's the Twin Bird.
Twin Bird. We're coming close to as many as I can name now.
There's the Fled God. There's the Fell God.
Is the Fell God an outer god?
The Fell God's an outer god.
All right.
For sure. Because it's mentioned that it's in opposition to like the Greater Will and stuff. There is the Night Lord, who's the god of the Nox. They're waiting for him to arrive. He's got something to do with stars.
So that's 8.
There's
the Frenzied Flame.
Frenzied Flame, yeah. Although I always think that the Greater Will and the Frenzied Flame are like one and the same, and that's why they make 5 fingers on a hand.
No.
That's a headcanon.
That's headcanon. That's tinfoil hat right there. Frenzied Flame was an inside job. Is Margit Morgott? Yep. Nice quick one. Love the yes or no's. Who calls the curse? What curse? There's so many curses in the game. Moving on. Is someone repairing the Elden Ring? Or building a new one? Yes, Radigan tried to repair it but failed, but essentially we, the player character, are rebuilding the Elden Ring.
And there is a item that you get that's called the Mending Rune. So it's a rune that specifically hot patches something back into the world.
Yeah, and you get it via fear, don't you? So yeah, we are in the process of doing that, and your ending determines. You get to determine via your ending and what routes and avenues you discover is like what the Elden Ring becomes and what will become of the cosmology.
Are the gods far away now? Do the gods hang out?
Why does that guy have so many arms? That's Godric the Grafted. He's grafted the arms on from Tarnished. Do you already tried Stream Viewer? Oh, okay, I see. Block King of Time.
King of Time being taken on by the Flame of Ambition.
I think the Frenzied Flame, honestly, it's a bit extreme. I don't like the 2 fingers, so I'd pick the 3. If I had to pick between 2 or 3, I'd pick 3. But I'd rather pick anything else. I'd pick Moon.
Moon.
Do your choices in the game change this story at all? Changes the ending? At the very end, you get to put together a new Elden Ring.
In theory, that there is a true ending, but the whole game takes place in when we don't know what it is, and the whole game takes place in a bit of a sort of this has happened before and will happen again time loop situation. The actual chronology is a bit vague, and they like doing that in these From Software games. So it could be that this has happened before and will happen again, and we're just iterating on loops and loops until something goes right. Who knows?
Yeah. Essentially, your choices only make a big impact in the ending, and you're told, like, this is the way things all shook out.
There are a lot of minor stories, however, you can have direct impacts for small characters who you interact with as you go on. Well, Marry Godskin Duo, that's bigamy, that's a no-fault divorce. Out of that one, easy peasy.
Oh, in and out in a day.
Dummy. Yeah. And then, so I guess, fuck the Finger Creeper.
I'm similar, but I'm going to fuck the Dung Eater and kill the Finger Creeper.
Oh, okay.
Fantasy Scrolls. Is Moog a Ferengi? Nope.
He's a naughty boy.
Sorry, can I ask a question? Yep.
Go ahead.
Is Elden a verb or an adjective? I think it's an adjective. I don't know what it would mean as a verb.
Do you know there's a shopping centre called Elden Square?
Isn't it Eldon?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Where does David Rodigan come into all this? Do you know what David Rodigan is?
Nope.
Okay. Patches. Discuss with reference to the text and include wider reading. We've literally done that quite well, actually.
Yeah.
If you had to wear a mushroom for a hat, what
Amanita!
Yeah. I feel like I should say
Amanita.
a different one now that you've said Amanita, but it's going to be
It's
Amanita,
great.
isn't it? Why would you pick
Yeah.
anything else?
You've got little spots on it.
What is the importance? This would be a red cat question. What is the importance of mains? I don't know if we have time. Honestly, I think we might have to jettison that. I think we might have to just throw that off the hot air balloon as ballast.
Potentially, because marriage is a semi-divine act in the game, only unmarried maidens can connect with higher gods in the same way. It's not clear.
There's no actual suggestion that we're talking like virgins or anything. There's no.
Yeah, they don't ever say that. Yeah, it's like a level of divinity that you can have. I guess it's like maiden fair.
They're young women, and they are at least dressed in a way that suggests, they're not out adventuring. They're kept somewhere in some institution. Often they're blind, some kinds of maidens of the frenzied flame have their eyes covered.
Think along the lines of a knight meeting a maiden situation. So it's specifically, I think, taking on that idea of a favor being granted, and it's courtly, chivalric. It's Mary, whatever her name is, who wrote the Green Knight stories. It's all taken off that.
But when we say maiden, we don't just mean a young woman. A maiden is a status that is bestowed upon them through a process that we don't understand. That's as good as
you bump into people who aren't maidens, and Melina specifically says, "Sorry, I'm not a maiden."
Yeah, but she can operate as one, which is very curious. What is your most tinfoil hat theory?
I think I did mine. I think I did Three Sisters of the dogs. The dogs in the statue are the Three Sisters.
I've thought a lot of stupid things. I thought that Vike burned the Erd tree before we did. I now don't believe that. I think that Mikola is Melina. I now think that's stupid. What was the other mad one? I've said a lot of stupid things that I now just absolutely don't agree with.
I think I was way off base on the Gloam-Eyed Queen for a bit.
Yeah, we thought... It's very, very common that people think Melina is the Gloam-Eyed Queen. Because her eye is gloamed. She's got a gloam eye. But that's honestly where it begins and ends. There's not...
Well, she's got a deathbird claw on her eye as well, which is hard to say. Like, there's a whole separate mythology to do with birds, cuckoos specifically, which I think are a metaphor for outer gods, because cuckoos jump into a nest and kick the other eggs out.
Yeah.
So the cuckoos are something that's intruding that shouldn't be there. But who knows?
We're not really sure.
Egg.
I feel like we're taking this at a good pace. We're 45 minutes over the end time. How do I defeat the Draconic's Tree Sentinel? Which one's that?
It's the one outside of Malekith's boss arena.
Oh, you don't need to.
Lightning
just go past it.
Oh, also the one that blocks your way into Lanedale. Lightning resist gets you there. Their reach isn't that good, actually. And a lot of their attacks come out of the horse, so part of it's learning the horse patterns.
Baiting full frontal attacks from the horse is really useful, because I find the horse attacks are really easy to dodge.
Yeah, when he's hitting you, you're in a bad place. And as always, there's side quests to do. Get a few souls. There is there's no shame in being 30 levels higher than you need to be.
I would say stay on either in front or on the hammer side. I think the shield attacks are harder to dodge. Stay around the front.
The ranged lightning attacks, you don't get a chance to. They don't really telegraph them super well. He just goes boop, 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 zap.
And depending on your build, you really can get a stagger on this guy. They will stagger.
But you can't knock them off the horse because they're literally tied on. Next question.
Yeah. They're slow and steady. Who is the Gloam-Eyed Queen? Well, we think Melina. There is some suggestion in one of the new trailers that maybe the Gloam-Eyed Queen was defeated and isn't in the game and was killed.
Well, one of my tinfoils is that Marika's the Gloam-Eyed Queen. She kills the identity of the Gloam-Eyed Queen, putting the Gloam-Eyed Queen's power in her mate's hands literally. And then she reneges on that identity of the Gloam-Eyed Queen to become Queen Marika, go do the golden stuff. But it's not clear. Hopefully we find out in the DLC.
It's either Melina or it's a big snake. I think it's going to be a snake.
Because the sword's like an Asclepius stuff. It's got 2 wiggles. It's also like Radigan's body sword, but we're getting that later. Next question.
Fluffweasel has asked, what's with the guys with the big heads?
Tiny feet. Next question.
Yeah. It's a perspective trick. You're looking at them from above. Oh, and then I think we've hit all the questions that I said there were when I said there were 20.
Nice.
Why do you want to get them out of the question? We think bigamy is going to be hard to handle, immoral.
I just don't think that I'm in a good space to have a relationship with 2 unearthly creatures. When is the stream dissecting the lore Leisure Strike? As soon as it goes offline, me and Sean are buckling down on that.
Yeah. We've got another separate mirror ready to go. And then we're done. That was the Elden Ring lore stream. I'm glad people enjoyed it, and to those who made it all the way through.
Covered everything. I think we got the whole thing. And we could go on for hours more, and we have. Oh, he's a bear. Oh.
Sean, I'm not upside down. Thank you so much for triggering the welcome bear. I love seeing new faces in the chat, and I love seeing the community grow from strength to strength.
I don't know. They were a welcome break from thinking about god skins.
I think we've covered quite a lot. This is quite a nice section of diagram. Thank you very much for indulging us and humouring us.
Do you want to make this one public?
Yeah, they can have this one. Yeah, go ahead. I'll let you comment. I'll let you comment. Here you go.
Oh,
you want that? Here you go.
Jake. Little Jacob.
This was a lot of fun. Thank you very much for indulging us. And I believe myself and Catbox will be back on Friday night. Is that right?
I'm afraid not. I'm going to have to take a hiatus this Friday, just with the way my works are lining up. So I'll be back in a fortnight on Friday night, and then hopefully as well at some point with the stream. But I'm all over the place with my energy levels still. This was a very easy stream because you pressed all the buttons short. I just had to sit here and talk, and that's the dream.
So that was all our theories on Elden Ring. Give you one little scan of this. And I tell you, we're not saying you can't see it. We're just saying there's a more involved method to get access than you might expect. You can see it, but you know what the price is to pay to get access.
Join us.
Show
us you defeating Melania, and you're in.
No, you just have to have several conversations with us, and we'll like, oh, this person's really interested, and then we'll let you in. Anyway, that was our attempt to cover stuff. We didn't cover hardly anything. Melina, completely absent. Honestly, the biggest mystery of the whole game. Did we cover any of these, in fact? Who was Melina? No. Why was Elden Ring shattered? Actually, we didn't. We didn't cover this. Why was Godwin assassinated? Not really. Who burned Gertrude? No. Who shot Queen Marika? Slightly. Only one of the questions we got even close to.
So, the beauty of Elden Ring is, as soon as you ask that question, just a single adjective or noun then sparks off 3 more conditioning questions, and you're gone.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I will definitely be back on Friday evening. I am hard at work. I'm going to release. I want to see what it's like for a stream to play a game through this Twitch Inc. thing that I'm making. I've been trying to write a game, but there is no chance it will be really finished. So I'll just let you play what I have. The game is going to be called, or is called, A Witch Turned You Into a Slug. That's what it's called. And we'll see how long it takes you to just burn through the content I've put in already. And we'll see if it's fun to do so. I've written too much in the wrong. Here, I'll give you a little look. This is the current size of the script, and all the little nesting decisions, and all the things that could happen. And I've written too much in the wrong places. And I'm telling you, even though you won't see probably even 20% of this, because a lot of these things are dead ends, and then you won't be able to go back. That's how far I've gotten. We remake Elden Ring in ink. It could be done.
I think just click on
and I
the
hope
board.
to double that word count by Friday. But you'll still blast through it in no time. So we'll see. We'll see how well it goes. Alright, everyone. I have been Sean Morley.
And it's your boy Catbox.
And we will see you all later. And remember, our DMs are open if you want to talk Elden Ring. Good night. Okay. We'll just trust
It says that Mikla has the power to compel affection. So it's not that they just like him. It's that if he needs them to, they love him.
I think I was talking describe it.
Which, well, no, because you could not like him, and then he's like, well, yeah, I do actually need you to like me, so now you love him.